right, welcome back to the IMNerd podcast, guys. I'm your host, Freyway, and I'm here with my co-host, Kenny. And today we have a very special guest with us. This is your favorite player's favorite player. This guy goes back to the dawn of Yu-Gi-Oh! He's at the beginning. He's one of the best of all time. At one point when the rankings were up, before they went down, he was top 10 in the world. He was top 10 before your fave was top 10. He has over 20 premier event tops, and we're not talking about ARGs and PPGs. No disrespect to them, but we're talking about Shonen Jump championships and YCS tops. He is a Shonen Jump champion. He is one of the teammates on some of the best teams that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever seen, and just an innovator, a fantastic deck builder, a fantastic player, and honestly, just one of the GOATs of the game, if I had to say so myself. Ladies and gentlemen, we have today Dale Bellido with us.
I'm so happy to be on, and you know what? It's funny that I was wondering what you were gonna say, how to introduce me, and that just like far exceeded what I expected. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
It's been like a tough year for work, so
Yeah.
you know what? To start 2022 with that, dude, solid.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy to have you, man. We've been talking a lot since I first started the podcast. You were one of the earliest adopters of the podcast, one of the early supporters, and I really appreciate that. You told me that you wish we could drop it more often, and I was like, look, we're already dropping it 2 times a week. Like, we're doing as much as we can. It's already a lot doing that, and I love the fact that people are that enthusiastic about it, and that you were really like, this shit to me is incorporated into your daily, like you said, your exercise. You know, you walk and you listen to the podcast and whatever else you might do and you listen to. I hope that everyone who listens to the podcast also feels the same way, as far as just like filling it in with something else that you do, working, gym, whatever, walks.
Yeah, like I'm a big podcaster, and I normally listen to podcasts at 1.5 speed just so I can get more information.
Yeah.
I listen to yours at 1 because like I truly want to catch everything. And one of the craziest things is like, so obviously you're an IMNerd podcast, and it's nerd culture in video games, but I hate to jump into this right away, only because it's just a quick story about Christmas.
Okay.
Where I told Lazaro, like Lazaro loves Kingdom Hearts, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you should listen to Fraser's podcast about Kingdom Hearts. And we didn't talk about it. And then one day he just messages me when I'm at work. He's like, oh, what episode was that? So I just tell him, oh, listen, it's the RPG episode.
Yeah.
And I don't know, during Christmas, we're talking, and we're talking about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes up, right? Like, it always comes up with us. Yeah. He's over for Christmas. And he's like, oh, yeah, I heard on Fraser's podcast, Patrick talking about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, shit. And I was just like, oh, shit, you're listening.
That's crazy.
Like,
that's crazy.
It's crazy, dude. Like no shit, you could ask me about most of your episodes, and I'll say, I remember them. So
damn, that is
like, I finished your recap episode not too long ago, and like I assume Attack on Titan was crazy today.
Yes,
and I know you want to watch about it. Probably Kenny ain't caught up, but he has to.
Yeah, you got to catch up.
And then you got to catch up on One Piece for him. It's only fair.
Yes.
So.
No, I do. I got to read the manga. You know what? Because I'm flying to Cali this week, I am going to, on the plane, I'm probably just going to download all of the manga chapters that I'm missing. I'm like 100 chapters behind, no lie. So on the plane, I need something to do for that 6-hour flight, because from Philly to Cali is like legit 5.5 hours or something. I'm going to need something. I was going to do Mushoku Tensei and just watch the whole show, but I feel like One Piece kind of takes priority, honestly.
I'm always scared to talk about One Piece, though, because so many people that love One Piece are at different sections of One Piece. They're like, oh, I'm here. I'm 300 chapters. I'm 100 chapters. I'm 30 chapters. Like, everybody's all over the place with One Piece. Real quick, before we go any further, I just want to say, to go back to the introduction for Dale Bellido. Obviously, I never made it to, like, Fraser's level or anything in Yu-Gi-Oh! But I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! But before I was even really competitive, I heard your name. Like, without knowing what you look like or anything about you, like I remember just being in Alternate Universe, which is our main local, and just hearing the name Dale Bellido. Like I remember hearing your name and like knowing of you before even really knowing of you.
Yeah, Dale is a household name in the true sense of the word. Like Dale's the real deal, a real legend. When I was a kid, so I think me and Dale, we're very close in age. We won't say it, but I think you and I are very close in age. So in 2005, when Metagame was up and you were like topping your first events and everything like that and winning and all that, I was reading those articles on metagame.com and like seeing you and your brother literally top the events together and being on team, super friends, and like overdose and all of that stuff. And my goal was to eventually get to the point where I'm like a household name, something that people go on metagame.com and they see me in the top 8 deck lists. And it's just crazy how like life happens. And then you end up topping everything for like a long period of time, becoming one of the best players of all time. And then in 2010, I started topping, and I think we have a very similar story.
A super similar record, and I don't know if you remember this. When the YCS Toronto with Shadolls, I think we both topped.
Yeah,
right?
the one, yeah.
And then you told me your top count, and I'm like, well, I guess I got to keep playing because you're right beside me.
So literally, when the top 10 players of all time, that list that was on from Champ Trade, when they actually like put an official number to like the tops and what they matter and all that stuff, you and I was number 10 and you were number 9. And I remember you messaged me and you were like, yo, you're so close to like overtaking me that I have to play now to make sure that like I don't fall out the top 10 or don't become number 10. And you actually fucking did it, which is crazy to me.
You know, it's funny. Okay, so I think in your pictures, that's my first Shonen Jump top. It's my first win.
Yeah.
But that's like 13 or 14 years later on the very far right.
Holy shit.
To make
That's
it
amazing, yo.
Just to
What a
like
career.
stay ahead of Frazier.
Yes.
Just to make sure
Also,
I'm still ahead of Frazier.
Also, not to mention, if I'm not mistaken, because I was on metagame.com today, your first top is a win, right?
So my first top on metagame is a win.
Okay.
I have a top before that.
Okay, and it's not on metagame.
It's not, it's nationals.
So you predate metagame.com.
Yeah, you have to go to Pocho to find this up. And
Holy
I'm
shit.
gonna unravel this as beautifully as possible without trying to ramble. But I'm such a rambler.
Oh, I love it. No, we need it.
You
We
can
need
ramble.
it. Yeah,
You can ramble.
Please ramble. Please tell us. Okay, let's just dive into like your first top. Just your career, like winning. I guess your second top. I thought it was your first because it's the first thing on metagame. I thought metagame captured the entire history of Yu-Gi-Oh, but apparently not. It's crazy.
So that's what's missing in that top 10. The Champ Trade is missing a nationals finals. So it's like it's missing a very high rated.
Yeah, you were in the finals too.
Yeah, I was in the finals of 2004 nationals, and So I have this whole story that kind of is packaged together with my first top.
Okay, all right, let's hear it.
And it's kind of how I start playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Where you tell the story, 2004, were you guys playing Hitatsumi Giant? What the fuck was out in 2004?
That was in Lazaro's deck. I gave myself all the good cards. But yeah, I mean, you want me to jump into it?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna try and make it as fast as possible. So, like everybody else, watch the anime, and I wasn't watching the anime first. It was Lazaro was watching it, and he's younger than me by 2 years. And he's watching it, I come home and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. And this is at the time where, like, to stick to the IMNerd podcast type of thing, is the anime I was watching was probably Escaflowne and Sailor Moon at the time.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
And Pokemon. So like we had YTV was our channel, and this had all like the you had Toonami. We had YTV in Canada. Okay. So it had all that, had Dragon Ball. So I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And one of my best friends in high school. So I'm in high school at this time, and one of my friends is like, oh yeah, hey, have you heard of this card game? And at this time, I've never played card games in my life. Like that was unbeknownst to me. I did collect Pokemon cards, but I didn't know how to actually play Pokemon. Like we play Pokemon by going rock, paper, scissors, whatever attack to whatever the defense or the HP, right? Yeah. So it was blast. So I hate getting sidetracked, but I love this story. So Lazaro, I pull a Blastoise, and we're playing people for cards at like 8 or 9, but we don't know how to play. Like it's rock, paper, scissors, and someone pulls a Charizard, and Lazaro's like, I'll play you for that. And Charizard just has to, the way we play, Charizard just has to win one rock, paper, scissors against Blastoise to kill him. Because he has like 80 HP, and Charizard's attacks 100. Blastoise has to hit him 3 times in our way of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And Lazaro just ices him. 3 rock, paper, scissors in a row. He crushes them, and that's how I get my first Charizard. And this other set of brothers are so pissed that like the older brother just slaps the hell out of the younger one. And I'm just like, nice, you got Charizard. But But anyways, yeah. So like outside of that, no competitive play. We like not even competitive play. Like I don't play cards, right?
Yeah.
You
Did
play
you
rock,
watch it?
paper, scissors.
Did you watch the anime
Sorry?
at all?
Did I watch Yu-Gi-Oh anime?
Yeah. Did you watch it?
This was like from the day I saw Lazaro watching that anime to like my friend giving me or showing me these cards was literally like the next day of school.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, all right. I watched the anime after and I watched way later. So I didn't watch the original anime, well, season 1 till like maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, that sounds a long time, but it's
Yeah.
in Yu-Gi-Oh sense it's not.
Yeah.
I started when like Emperor Dragon was a thing. Like
Okay.
Kaiba summoning Emperor Dragon.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty deep in. Yeah, that's pretty deep.
it's deep, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the first time I watch it because like I'm immediately encapsulated by the Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, cool. I want to play. So like me and Lazaro used to play chess at school, and the only reason we played chess was because you had a chess tournament in the middle of the year where you got to leave school for like 2 or 3 days, and if you did well at chess, you would go to multiple tournaments and leave school. Naturally, we both started become good at chess, just
Right.
originally to quit school.
Yes.
Not quit school, just to like an
Just
extra
to
day
get,
off.
just to get days off. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. But Lazaro actually ended up winning medals, and it's because I taught him. So in chess, there's like a 3-move setup that you could checkmate them right away, and I would show him, and then he would just dummy all the grade 3s with this move. And Lazaro got I don't even know the name of this move, but anyways, Lazaro got all the way to the quarterfinals, and then Lazaro does it. And then the person obviously knows, he sets up defense for it, and then Lazaro's just like, "Oh, well, I guess you win because I don't know
I don't know how
what
to play
to
after
do
this." Right.
for the rest of
He's like, I don't know how to play past turn 4.
Yeah, and that's the current Yu-Gi-Oh right now. I mean,
It is. It doesn't even make it to turn 4.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
But yeah, so completely encapsulated by Yu-Gi-Oh right away, and I just spend my money, my lunch money, or my allowance, and Lazaro's lunch money, and we're buying cards. And eventually, this one friend, we amassed a deck together, and we start playing. And I remember double tributing I'll remember this in my kitchen. I double tribute for a Barrel Dragon against his face down monster, and I miss its effect, and I attack into a Metal Scorpion. And what Metal Scorpion's effect is, if a machine monster attacks this, it dies like 4 turns later.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, wow, this is like the anime. Like something
So specific, right? Like such a specific interaction.
So specific. And I was just like, man, I love this game. And then that deep dive into it, my
That's
friends
what made you
playing
love the game.
everything. Like I truly love Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes.
That's so cool.
No, me too, man.
Like there is artwork on my wall of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I don't know if you've seen. I finally finished my Red Eyes frame.
I did see
and
that. That looks great. Also, that's probably worth so much money now.
Yeah.
Because I know the price of cards has gone up tremendously. I don't know if you and your brother kept anything as far as cards go, but cards are worth a lot.
We could talk about big misses that I have, but yeah. Again, so fall in love with Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, I start to spend money on the game, and we kind of understand it pretty quickly, right? Like me more than Lazaro.
Yeah.
I understand how to play. I'm beating my friends at school and my parents' dental clinic. There's a card shop outside, and one day I don't know what tournaments are. I come on a Saturday. I don't normally come on a Saturday to my parents' clinic because they're so busy, but for some reason I'm there and I see a tournament going. So I'm just watching. I'm like, oh shit, I got Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I'm watching these people play, and I decided to go next week. And at this store is one of my first Yu-Gi-Oh friends I've ever met, and it's Dexter Dalit.
Okay, I know that name.
Yeah, so he goes to Worlds twice. He's unfortunately only he only stayed in Canada. He rarely traveled.
Yeah.
So but he did very well.
A local legend.
He juiced me. He was the first person that juiced me.
He was a Silverman.
So bad.
He was your Silverman.
So bad that anyone else that got ripped off by me can thank this guy.
Right, he started it. He started it.
Okay, I don't know if you remember the Shonen Jump Blue Eyes. I was playing Blue Eyes deck.
Right.
Do you remember that Shonen Jump Blue Eyes, in the first magazine with the world behind them?
Yes, I know exactly. I have that.
Yeah. Oh, you still have it?
Of course.
Okay.
I don't like to trade cards really. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and when I started working like 10 plus years ago in like a real job, I realized how ridiculous it was to trade back and forth with people for like $5 difference because everyone's trying to get over by some margin. I used to hate it because I'm like, at this point, I'm making real money and I'm not arguing with anybody over $5 or $10. I'm just not. So I just completely shut down trading. Like I just bought what I wanted and I would just put my cards in the house and that was it. I stopped completely carrying a binder, telling people my trades. I couldn't do it anymore. So I have like a lot of my old stuff. But yeah,
In terms of Blue Eyes, I think I have that art too because I'm sure they've printed more arts now, but at a point in time, I had every art of Blue Eyes.
Yeah.
Blue Eyes?
I should still have the world one because I never traded it.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Yeah. And like, so basically my Blue Eyes deck, unbeknownst to me, that I had probably the highest rarity because I had first said LOB Blue Eyes.
Okay.
I'm like, I need that
Those
card.
are wild. Now I don't think I have those.
I was like, I need that card, and I didn't even really ask anything about it. I'm like, name your price, right? So he goes to my binder, and I have a lot of stuff ready. I have like Jinzos when Jinzo's new, Imperial Order secrets from everything, and he like takes my first page of my binder, right? And first page is usually the best page, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like ear to ear smiling, right? Because I'm like, I got this new sick Blue Eyes. This guy goes in the store and buys another magazine and just opens it in front of me.
Oh shit! So he wanted you to know too.
He wanted me to know.
Wow!
And he just pulled it out, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" And then that starts me destroying people with trades.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the Ruthless Dale. After that, you were no longer.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to like, it's so funny how like all this comes together. But when I start seeing competitive play, they tell me online, or you can win a trophy. Do you remember the big Duelist Kingdom trophy?
Yes,
the Millennium Puzzle.
Yep. So real quick, when you say you started watching competitive play, with all due respect, Dale, you are competitive play. like what was competitive play before you guys? You're in the first like article on Metagame. Like what is competitive play in your eyes at that time?
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, not competitive play, organized play.
Okay. They call it that. Call it
organized play.
Okay.
And organized plays was at the time Duelist Kingdom, and that's how you qualified for 2003 Worlds.
Right.
So whoever was the best, like whoever did the best with their UDE number at a store, won the most, got to play at Worlds that year. And I was already late in 2003. I think Worlds just finished. But what I got to do is I got to look at, so how I search for people is I looked online, and it was like a Duelist Kingdom. It showed like a Duelist Kingdom map of which stores and who are the best players. So at my first store, it was called EK Trading. We became the best players there, and I was like, you know what? I was already driving, so I just got my driver's license, and like the first thing I wanted to do, I'm like, oh shit, now I could drive the locals, which is cool. So I would go to whatever local and find the best player there and beat them, and like just like try to solidify like a dog marking his territory kind of thing.
Establish dominance.
So, and this is how, and I already had good cards, right? You talk about Frazier. You said this one thing: swinging a sword at a playground.
Yeah,
I'm swinging 2 swords all day long. like you'll understand why. But I go to, and this is how I meet my team, my future team.
Right.
I go to a store called Image, and the best player there is Matt Peddle.
Yep, I know him too. He's a household name from back in the day.
Yep. And Lazaro just tags along. He's just my younger brother. He's not super competitive, but he's watching me hustle people for trades. And
boy, how things change, right?
I know, crazy, so crazy. But we end up, I end up winning Image, the Image Collectibles tournament, and I meet Matt. I go to the next store is Untouchables, which kind of becomes my home because that's the best store in the GTA in the Greater Toronto area.
Mm.
And this is the first store. Yeah, I know, right? And it's the first store with adults, like older people in university, and I'm still in high school at the time.
Mm.
And I'm just like, okay, the skill level is much better here. And I go to my first tournament, and I don't win, but I lose in the finals to a guy that like never wins there. I lost to like a Guardian Sphinx that I couldn't deal with because it was 24 defense, kept bouncing.
And that card back in the day, that was like a little lock, right? Like Guardian Sphinx could literally lock you.
Yeah, and I was just like I was getting dummied by that, and eventually I become the king of that store. I'm gonna use the word king, right?
Okay.
I run that store. I run Mississauga Yu-Gi-Oh, and at the time, organized play has evolved into regionals. So we get our first regionals announced in Toronto, and the way we communicated back then was forums like Pojo,
Yeah.
right? Pojo, and before Pojo, there was something called Yu-Gi-Oh realms.
Oh
And
shit! I remember Yu-Gi-Oh Realms.
yeah, so
I
Yu-Gi-Oh
definitely never
realms,
heard of Yu-Gi-Oh
Pojo,
realms.
and then later on Duelist grounds.
Duelist Ground.
So
Yeah.
at the time, Yu-Gi-Oh realms is shifting to Pojo, and almost everyone's on Pojo. So like I joined Pojo, and I'm like, oh, this regionals. I post down like I'm gonna top this regionals easy, and then a bunch of people from the province, like the state, for example,
Yeah.
that don't know Toronto or don't know this area, but like are like, who are you? You're random. You're talking shit. I'm like, I'll play you for money. I've been playing for cards forever. Like I was the rare hunter. I would go play people for cards. I would lose. I'm like, all right, I'll put up more. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like blackjack. If I keep doubling
double
up, I'm eventually gonna win it all back.
Yeah, because you were
So,
confident.
yeah, and like I had best cards. So
It's okay. So I want to interject here. It's interesting to me. You were good pretty much from the start, but like, how did you? Because when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I didn't even use the rules. Like how you play Pokemon, you just made up your own rules. I didn't even use the rules, and by the time I found out about advanced rule set, like how to play for real, tributing monsters instead of just summoning blue eyes, and like constructing a real 40 card deck with sleeves. By the time I knew about how to do that kind of thing, Yu-Gi-Oh was already completely organized. Like there was metagame was already going. There were Shonen Jump champions and stuff. But like I learned because of you guys. How did you learn to begin with? Like you guys set the standard for what became competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. But like, did you and Lazaro just play test against each other or something? Like, how did you figure out like this card is better than this card?
To piggyback off that, I think you both are only like a year older than me. And same, by the time I started learning how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, I already heard Dale's name. Like I already heard Dale's name by the time I started learning how to play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Exactly.
And you're only like a year older than me.
Okay, so I do owe a lot of this to my one friend who taught me all the mechanics of the game. The friend that got me into it. But the very first store I went to, EK Trading, the best player in that store was actually the number 2 player in Canada. And he was like 20 years old, 21 at the time, already older. And he taught me the concept of card advantage very early. So he played a deck that like in like pre-Android format, like not even pre-Android. Yeah, so let's say like right before Jinzo.
Okay.
So Magic Ruler, Metal Raiders, and LOB. He was playing a very advanced deck with triple Sangan, triple Witch, and Share the Pain. So I learned card advantage super early because of him.
I didn't learn that until metagame. That's exactly right. So card advantage, how to go +1.
Yeah, and I learned that very early. And then we also adapted the form of card advantage where most people don't know this, but card advantage is also your monster killing their monster.
Yep,
right?
Just battle phase.
So just putting that together and being like, all right, I'll take the 7 colored fish out of my deck. I don't need any of this. If I could just run over stuff with Gemini off and then hit with like a Donzalug and make sure that stuff float. Like I grasped that concept very, very quickly.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I peak in Yu-Gi-Oh very fast.
Yeah, you do. Like it's like immediate because when I just read your finals feature match for when you won the Shonen Jump Championship, and it's exactly what you just described. You pretty much go up on him. At one point, the article writer, I think it's Jerome McHale, he says like Dale has 3 cards and his opponent has 0. So you literally whittle down his cards. Like Cyber Dragon, Donzalug, crack, like discard a card out your hand. Then like next turn it's like you attack Sakuretsu. Like you just like 1-for-1 him, but then you go +1 on your battle phases and stuff. So then it ends up where you just whittled down all his cards. You just won the tournament. Like it's really simple when you read it. But I'm sure like playing at that time when no one knew Yu-Gi-Oh, I had to put it in context because as I'm reading, I'm like, this seems so like simple, right? Like reading it, I'm just like, it's like summon Cyber Dragon, do this or like whatever. It seems really simple. But then I have to remember in 05, like no one really knew how to properly play Yu-Gi-Oh like that.
Yeah. When other people got swords, I got a gun, right? So
yes,
like here's your sword at the playground, but here's my machine gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I learned card advantage super early, and on top of that, like I'm putting the best cards in my deck. So again, the regionals comes around, And this regionals is in even before traditional. So no ban list, nothing.
Right.
So IOC just comes out at this regionals, and this is me talking shit to everyone online. I'm like, I'm gonna crush this regionals. I'm gonna meet me, play me for buddy. My name is Dale. My screen name is Dale. It's always been on every forum. I don't hide behind a screen name.
Super blatant. Yeah.
Yeah,
it is really Dale.
So arrogant, super arrogant.
I love it. I love it. Competitive men are just so competitive. Like, it's just the thing about us. Like, from a young age, you were just competitive. You knew who you were. You were confident who you were. Some people might see it as like, oh, he's arrogant, he's cocky. But if you could back it up, like, okay, like, what can you do about it? Stop me.
Exactly. Like, and similar to yourself, and I see this with Fraser. Like, I can't really say much about you because I've known Fraser for quite some time, but he's very similar in the sense like we're unapologetically ourselves.
Yes.
And we say what we mean, and we mean what we say
every time.
Right. And I've always been like that. And it's funny because maybe when you were getting into Yu-Gi-Oh at the time, Fraser, like I was kind of like this celebrated duelist, and a lot of people loved me already. Yeah. But I started as a bad guy, and I started as a bad guy because I didn't want to just blend in the crowd. Right. So I needed to stand out. So that's what it was. I'm like, dude, someone has to be the best. I'll be the best. Not Fire Mage. 1, 2, 3 on Pojo. Dale on Pojo will be the best.
And telling people on there like, I'm gonna win. Also,
exactly. So
you look like a villain. You look like a villain in this first picture. This villain, the picture where you're holding up the card on the left, you look like a villain. Like, if that had to say, if we were in an anime, the way you have the black jacket on, the white tee, and then like holding up the card, you look like somebody that will rare hunter, like take your cards and beat you, and then they'll like turn around and their jacket will just have like a long ass like cape to it or some shit. You look like a villain.
It was 100%. And it's so funny is that kind of is a turning point when I become the people's kind of champion.
Yeah.
So to say, like, for a lack of a better term. But again, so I'm talking shit. I get to this regionals, and this regionals is so poorly handled. But out of nowhere, like the locals I would go to would have 30, 40 players. There's 500 players at this first regionals.
Holy hell.
And they have no idea how to handle it.
Yeah.
So what they do is they separate it into 2 regionals, and top 4 of the regionals will play off.
Okay.
For top 8. So again, I do some trades, and IOC again just gets released, and between me and Lazaro, we have 4 Emperor Dragons and 4 Blackluster Soldiers.
Oh god.
So I'm like, all right, well, here's 3 Blackluster Soldiers and 1 Chaos Emperor Dragon for you. And I have 3 Emperor Dragons and 1 Blackluster Soldier. On top of that, like, Lazaro didn't care. Lazaro was just like my younger brother, wanted to have a good time. He tagged along.
Yeah.
And I played this regionals with triple Emperor Dragon, and obviously I go perfect in Swiss. And I'm like, all right, good. I made top 8. I'm fulfilling this prophecy that I put out there.
Yep.
I win my top 8 match, and in top 4 is my first real humbling experience, because I'm against people from this Markham store, and so Markham is like a suburb on the East End. So I mostly stayed on the West, and on the East End it was like primarily like Asian. It's like a super Asian town, and I get hit with stuff that I've never seen before. Like, I'm playing a Chaos deck. I crush him game 1. Game 2, he sides into... You'd love this, Fraser. He sides into Gravekeepers. He sides into Necro Valley.
Right.
And I look at my side deck. I'm like, outside of like 1 Duster, 1 Imperial, and Heavy Storm, I have no... I'm probably only playing 1 MST.
Yeah.
I have no answer. So I lose in top 4. And the guy in the finals is another guy from my local. And he ends up winning this regionals. And I'm just like, oh shit, like someone did better than me, and from my store, and it wasn't me. Yeah. So I'm just, I did well, and I'm set, but it's what it is.
Right.
So Nationals comes around. I have my invite for Nationals, and there were only like 3 regionals in Canada. So I'm like, is this a 12-man Nationals? Am I about to go to Japan only having to be 11 people? They announced the day before that there's a regionals at Nationals on day 1, where 64 gets invited to Nationals.
Oh, hold on.
Like, all right, well, that was pointless.
Wait, hold on 1 second. You broke up for a second.
Yeah, what'd you say? You said there was a regional at Nationals for day 1, and then what happened?
Yeah, and they were so right now there's only 12 invites because there's only 3 regionals.
Right.
they're giving top 64 so they can have a decent tournament. If you finish top 64, you go to nationals.
Oh, so they need to have so they can have a real size tournament.
Yeah, so like you go 3 and whatever, you take 3 or 4 losses, you still qualify. And I'm there because I take Lazaro so he could get his invite. And I play against that one guy, only other guy that I know with an invite, and I don't want to play the guys from the different provinces because I think they're trash. Because I get to see, I see their deck list. I'm like, all right, trash.
Yeah.
And I play 100 matches against this guy.
Oh
now, obviously,
God.
I don't know the record. And Matt comes up to me in the morning. He's like, "What are you just hang out?" All day I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta wait for Lazaro." Matt literally comes back like 8 rounds later. I'm pretty sure I have a permanent ass groove in this chair.
Wait.
Like, oh, you guys left? I'm like, no, we probably played like 100 matches, and nothing, of pointless Yu-Gi-Oh. It's like the same deck, not testing, nothing. So nationals. So the lead up to nationals, I post that again. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna top nationals. And at this time, a lot of people are just like, whatever, you're full of yourself. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that I'm gonna top nationals. And my post is top eight of nationals. Dale Bellido 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 random. XX random, XX random, XX random. Right? And I post it on Pojo, and then it starts this war. And I get there and I top nationals. This is 2004 nationals, and I go X1 in Swiss, and in top 8 I win my top 8 match, and top 4 I also win. So I'm in the finals. I win top 8, top 4. Nothing too crazy. The only crazy story I have from that event is I'm playing round 5 against this one guy, and like an older gentleman, and he's there with his grandson, and he does a play, right? And then he calls the judge and he's like, how does this play work? And the judge goes, oh, you can't do that. You get a game loss.
Oh shit.
And he's like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, cool, thanks. But then there's other people like that are watching. They're like, oh, Dale's a shark. Dale shark this guy. I'm like, this guy judge himself.
Would you say this guy what?
Sorry?
Would you say you said this guy what?
I said this guy called the judge on himself. Like, I didn't shark him.
Yeah,
The judge
you didn't do anything. Yeah, you literally didn't do
I didn't do
anything.
anything. But like, these are close friends of mine now.
Yeah.
But they're just like, yeah, Dale's a shark. That's how we topped, right? And it didn't matter. I was X1 in the finals of nationals. Again, another super humbling experience. And at the time,
all right. So this guy basically calls a judge on himself. The judge gives him a game loss, and then they're like, Dale's a shark. Dale's a shark. You're like, what the fuck? He called the judge on himself.
Yeah, and I was just like, whatever. I'm still gonna ride with it. And I make it to the finals. So I top 8 Nats. I make it to the finals. I'm like one step away from Worlds. And this is humbling experience number 2 in my journey of Yu-Gi-Oh! This guy, the guy that I'm playing in the finals, got very lucky to get there because in top 4, he double summons and the judges don't catch it. No one catches it. He double summons and wins off that to play me in the finals. But the other guy in top 4, if he won, he couldn't go to Worlds. So like if he played me, it would just be for the title and I'd automatically go to Worlds.
Right.
But he ends up losing to this double summon, and I'm against his name is Joseph. So I'm playing him, and then at the time I do not look at anything OCG because there's a very difference in card pool and ban list.
Yeah.
So I don't look at any of that stuff. Like they're even at that time years ahead. But he has done his research. So again, I'm playing. This is traditional format 1, the traditional format with like 1 Emperor, one BLS, and I get hit with 1,000 Eyes Restrict. So this is before GOAT format. This is 2004. He drops 1,000 Eyes Restrict, and I actually had to read a card for once.
Right.
Like, I'm like, this card's in my binder. I don't even know what it does. So I read it, and I'm just like, okay, how do I play around this card? Like, how do I shut it off?
Right. You didn't have the Tsukiyomi answer at the time.
Yeah, like I didn't have. He had Tsukiyomi. Like he was playing GOAT control when I was playing traditional.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
Somehow, and that's a very good matchup against. So how I was beating people was pretty much like, everyone was running tomatoes. So the metagame call I make for this event is everyone's running tomatoes to go into Sangan to try Sangan or Witch to try and do the Emperor Dragon blow up Yada search.
Yeah.
I choose not to play tomato at all and go Shining Angel. So whenever there's a tomato face up, I'm going straight into a Warrior Lady to banish the Sangan so they can't pre-med back to do that. So I'm like, all right, nice. Like this is an amazing metagame call because I'm crushing every mirror match because it's a mirror match, and I'm beating them because they're leaving tomato face up. I'm hitting it with the warrior lady. They can't do that, and then I still have access to like the Sangyans because they're not getting banished through that interaction.
Right.
Anyways, like in the finals, I lose. Like I'm like, oh my god, I lost.
Was it 2-0?
Sorry?
Was it 2-0?
No, I beat him game 1, right? And
Okay.
he sided into goat control.
What the fuck?
So he was playing. Yeah, he was playing traditional, like chaos, like regular chaos, and tomato against angel against a tomato worked out like perfectly. I crushed him, and after I beat him game 1, I remember I turned to the judge, so full of myself. I'm like, hey, can we take a break? Like, let's take a break. And everyone's laughing. He's like, no, let's finish it out, right? Long day. And then he 2-0s me after.
Damn.
So then I'm like, oh, damn, this sucks. I was this close to Worlds. So following up to that is Shonen Jumps are announced. So Shonen Jumps finally get announced, and all of them are on West Coast, right? The first, like the Comic Odyssey runs all of them because they're on the West Coast. And I can't travel to any of them. And I don't even, like, I can't even convince my parents to travel at the time. Like, they would make jokes to my family members that they're like, oh, yeah, my son's the corniest joke ever. Like, he's going to be a cardiologist.
Oh, my God.
Like,
that's so bad.
You know, like, obviously, Asian tiger parenting. Not
Yes.
tiger parenting, but, like,
I know what you mean.
My parents are dentists. Like, my mom's a dentist. And they want their kids to be doctors like them and stuff, and but I didn't, and they would always make that joke, but they supported us throughout everything.
Yeah,
it was a little joke to them.
My mom wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor as well, so I know that feeling of having the strict parents who are like education. I want you to do this high paying job so your life is easy type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they only want the best for you, but it's so funny that
cardiologist.
Life is so different, right?
Yeah.
But so competitive organized play is now announced, and Shonen Jumps are a thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now an extra event. And I look at the list. They only released the first couple ones, so I couldn't play any of the Stein events. So that was the first. So yeah, metagame is finally starting to become a thing. All my organized, like everything I've done before predates metagame. Except like that Nationals top, we just had no coverage. Jason Gabermeyer was there at the time, but he was playing.
Okay.
So he wasn't a writer. And
I've never seen that in my life. You just said Jason was playing.
Yeah, the very first regionals that I go to, he's playing.
That is crazy. Jason is like, what for people who don't know, if you're like really young, I guess, Jason Gabermeyer is one of the most iconic writers and content like creators, I guess you can call it, in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. He's one of the first people to write articles on the feature matches and just kind of articles in general, just talking about random Yu-Gi-Oh shit. Somebody I looked up to growing up. I eventually became an actual article writer myself. But Jason was like the inspiration for a lot of that type of thing. Reading those articles, reading those feature matches that he just sat there and typed out. I never knew that obviously I knew that he was a player to some degree, but I thought, I can't imagine seeing Jason playing at a tournament in a competitive way. That's just the idea of that. That's how far back this goes.
Yeah, it's great. Like it's so funny. Like I meet all the big Yu-Gi-Oh names at the very beginning of their career. Like I already have met Jeff at this time.
Yeah,
I met Jeff in 2004. He came up to like a Toronto regionals.
Oh yeah, because he's from like Michigan or whatever.
Yeah, he's in Michigan, so he's like a 2-3 hour drive.
Right, so it's actually close enough. Okay.
Yeah, so like I've met them. I don't meet all of them till obviously I start to travel, but I meet like Jeff. I meet super early because he's close to the area.
Do you guys immediately like become like hit it off and everything?
So I don't know if you know the name Andrew Hayton. So Andrew Hayton was like another, like Team Extreme was like a thing from the other Canadian, the B Canadian team. I'll call him the B Canadian team.
Oh shit.
Very on brand of myself to do so.
Yes.
But yes, Team Canada B.
Okay.
Had Andrew Hayton, Chris Pateo,
I know Chris
and Rob
Pateo.
Cedar.
I know Rob Cedar too.
Yeah, so this is that team. I'm good friends with all of them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And Andrew Haynes from Windsor, which is like 10 minutes away from Detroit, and he's the one that introduces me to Jeff. And for the longest time, before Jeff talked, I told everybody that Jeff is the best player to not have a Shonen Jump top. And
you're right.
He goes off and becomes far surpasses myself. But yeah, we kind of hit it off right away. Jeff was amazing. He was always been nice since the very beginning.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Shonen Jumps finally get announced, and my friends that I met through beating them at other stores, we finally see that we're against a different competition. It's not just nationals, we're not against each other, and we decided to make a team. And the very first event is accessible to us is Shonen Jump Charlotte. I can't go to that one, and it's not that I can't go. They're like, yeah, we're gonna go. And I was like, all right, how are you guys getting there? They're like, we're going to take a bus, like a 15-hour bus ride. I'm like, good luck convincing my parents to go on a 14-hour bus ride to the States with friends that I met at a card shop that are younger than me. Like, I have to be responsible. So no, I can't go. My parents will not let me go. So they go, and one of our teammates tops the event, Kyle Duncan, who from Philly. He ends up winning a Philly jump later.
I was there. I was there for that.
Were you there?
That was my first ever. Man. That's my first ever Shonen Jump Championship, and it's the first Philadelphia Shonen Jump Championship. Period. It was also at the time the biggest Shonen Jump Championship of all time.
It was like 900 people.
Yeah, I think it was 808 exactly. It was really big.
808.
I think.
All I know is
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The line was wrapped out the door. It was my first time seeing like a lot of. I was a fanboy. It was my first time seeing a lot of the. Like your Adam Corns or whatever, like maybe not Adam because it was really early, but like Shane Scurry, Jerry Wang, maybe Paul Leviton, like all of those guys, like Jonathan LeBounty, just like super early. Yeah. It was my first time ever seeing pro players in person and seeing a line wrapped around a door for registration. I don't even think they expected to get that many people, 808 people. I don't know why the number stands out in my head. It might not be exact, but I know it was, like you said, either 800 or 900, and it was definitely like the Chaos format. He played the Royal Decree, Shining Angel, Mystic Tomato creature swap deck, right?
Yeah, Chaos Recruiter.
Yep, Chaos Recruiter.
Chaos Recruiter. Yeah.
Yep. So he's creature swapping people's Dekoichis and shit.
Yeah, it was that was a crazy time, and but yeah, he tops that first event, and we kind of we talk on the way back. He loses in top 8, and he tells us that like they're not that much better, like in the States, right? Like they play very different. So the way Canadians played and the way Americans played back then, like from our experience, is they were more aggressive.
Okay.
And it's funny because there's articles in early metagame where if you read, so you have to read Shonen Jump North Carolina where Ivan Flores wins, and at the time the first a European player comes, Joe Whitaker, and he's a very like high level European player. It's the first time you hear someone from overseas come by, and he kind of says to the metagame writer, you'll read in the article that Canadians play very differently than Americans at the time. So like he references like the top level American players that he played against and top level Canadian players, and there's a difference there. And Kyle Duncan kind of like we talked about that very early, and trying to take advantage of how aggressive they were meant like when we were playing recruiters, our recruiters are going to get hit because they just like to attack.
Yeah, and that's smart.
They did stuff with BLS that was unheard of for us. Like they would drop a BLS right when they have it to gain the +1. But I'm like, this BLS is a kill card, 100% kill card. This is like could be over 50% of what you need, right? So that's just kind of how we viewed it. And come the next event, next Shonen Jump is Shonen Jump Indianapolis, which is Gen Con. Did you ever get to go to a Gen Con?
I did. I went to a couple actually, but the one that I played then that I can recall was 2010 when it was Frog FTK format. So I have been to one, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and at the time, like before 2010, I think was one of the last big years for it.
It was.
It just started to fade. It started to fade at that point, but like Gen Con was like the best event to go to. Like it didn't matter if you didn't do well. It was just fun, right? And that event I couldn't go to because of family obligation. And Matt Petal ends up. So the team ends up going, and Matt top 8s, and he loses to the winner. And again, he's just like, yeah, it's the same. We could do better than them. So before I get to finally go to an event, we have 2005 nationals, and again I post on 2005 nationals. I'm like, I'm gonna win. I haven't been playing. I'm gonna win. I'm like, I've been traveling. So in 2005 nationals, so the regionals right before, Calvin Sang, one of my friends now, doesn't have a deck, so he's just chilling at the regionals. I'm playing for fun. I have a Benkai deck as built on the side, and he's seeing me play people front. And he's like, "Oh, that deck's pretty cool. Can I see it?" So I show him. He's like, "All right, cool." And do you know how Benkai works?
Yeah. I actually copied it from the website. You equip him with a bunch of shit, and he attacks like 18 fucking times, and he kills you.
Yeah. So 2005 nationals comes around. I'm 5-0. There's 2 more rounds, and I play against Calvin. Oh no, I play against somebody else from Ottawa. So Ottawa's like another city. So in the very first story, the guys that were talking shit, that they said they'd play me for money, were from Ottawa. So if I lost anyone from Ottawa, I wouldn't like it. I end up losing to this guy, so I'm X1. It sucks. I'm X1, and then I play against Calvin in the last round, and he's playing Benkai, the deck I give him.
Awkward.
He beats me, not with Benkai. He beats me with an equip deck. Like, pretty much like, all right, Tribe, Axe of Despair, attack. Like, he doesn't once beat me with Giant Trunade, Benkai, bunch of equips, attack.
He just beats you down slowly.
So bad, and he just beats me with like an equip deck, and I'm like, man, this sucks.
Hey,
like
that's actually crazy.
I'm so dejected at the time. I didn't get to travel any events, and I felt like I'm like, did I hit my peak already? Like, was second place last year that was it. So again, the nationals post and the next events are announced. So there's Boston, there's Shonen Jump Boston at the end of GOAT format. So this is GOAT format nationals. Shonen Jump Boston, then Atlanta, then Chicago. I can't go to Boston because it's my birthday. My parents were like, yeah, you can't go. It's your birthday. You got to stay here. You got to celebrate it with us. I'm like, it's my birthday. I want to go. Yeah. Anyways, we don't go. None of us traveled that one. Atlanta's a little too far for us. And then Shonen Jump Chicago comes around. And this time, Matt goes, hey, my mom is willing to drive us to Chicago. She wants to go around Chicago. Do you want to come? Like, we want to get us together as a team.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, cool, let's go. We're down. I tell my parents, like, all right, there's a responsible adult to watch your kids. Good. So she drives us. And Matt's mom is like, if there was an honorary member for any team I've been on, it's Matt's mom. She drove us to so many events. Like, she had pillows for us.
She was clutch.
Like, travel pillows. So I made my team. So our first team is Team Super Friends, right? And Team Super Friends is kind of a joke on The Simpsons and the Justice League Team Super Friends. So she asked, like, oh, who are our favorite characters? She makes us pillows with our favorite characters on them.
Oh, that's
just travel. Like, so sweet. Matt's mom is amazing.
There's a similar figure in the community. Well, she's not in it anymore, but her name was Miss Leverett. She used to travel with like Patrick and Desmond and those guys. But literally, when I met her, she was the exact same thing. She was super nice to me. She offered me lunch and like all this stuff. It just brought me cookies and juice and shit while I'm playing. Barely even knew me the first time we met, but immediately we just became cool. And every single event, she was just like a really nice mother figure and stayed that way my entire time ever knowing her.
Those are like the real heroes of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes,
Like the support. Seriously, like, to have that level of support, which my parents eventually gave me, but like that level of support, just like
it goes a long way.
It keeps their head on as a kid, right?
That's amazing. And by any chance, do you still have the pillow she made?
Lazaro still has his pillow. Man, I might have mine. Like I slowly go through my house and open boxes. I'm like, oh, like cool. I have these old Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I have like crazy old expensive Funko Pops that I collected back in like 2010 that are worth infinite now.
Yeah.
But like I still have moving boxes from like I moved into my house like 4 years ago, and I still haven't unpacked everything because like I buy stuff and that's what I'm unpacking. My Amazon packages. Just constantly. So we drive to Shonen Jump Chicago, and this is my redemption arc, and obviously you know how this ends.
Yeah. But we know the ending of this story.
I post on, so it's my first US event, and the US players do not care about Canada at all. Like we're nothing to them because our nationals aren't even on metagame.
Right.
It's just on Pogo. So that's where they get our information. Deck lists almost never come up unless someone posts it themselves. But they're competitive, right? They're invite only.
Yeah.
And people just care about shonen jumps. And I'm already a fan at this time. Like, you say that I'm part of like prehistoric Yu-Gi-Oh! There was a little bit before me on metagame, which is Comic Odyssey and Team Overdose.
I know,
right?
Both of those.
Yeah. So they predate me a little bit, but I'm gonna say they're my shadow now, even though I was on Team Overdose.
Yeah.
But anyways, we get there, we go to the event, and it's the first 2000. It's the first time we get to travel as a team, and we fully talk about this, that like, hey, it doesn't matter which one of us wins, just win.
Yeah.
And I'm regarded as one of the best players in Canada already pretty early.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't have that win, but I've topped. There was like 4 regionals. I've topped every regionals, and like I post on Yugioh on Pojo that I remember it, Chicago 2005 Chicago champion deck list, and I post, and I'm like, I'll post it when I win on Sunday.
Yes.
And then I hit enter. And I hit enter, and I'm pretty sure I could find it. Matt's the one that told me it was on. I thought it was on Yu-Gi-Oh! Realms, but Matt told me it was on Pojo, because Matt would protect me on forums, right? People would flame me, and Matt would always protect me. Like,
Nice.
Matt's one of my best friends to date. Like, Matt lives down the street. Like, we're super close.
That's actually amazing that you guys are still
like
close.
Yeah, super close. And Matt and Kyle Duncan would always protect me from trolls online, and I love them for that.
Before we knew what they really were.
I was that personality, right? I'm still polarizing at this time. I'm still in the GTA, either you love me or you hate me. Because again, I was only beating up on everyone in our area, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't against US competition. And we finally go, and I remember the person talking the most trash was someone from Houston named Ryan Serta. He's like, I'll play for anything. I'm like, dude, I'll even bet you that I will win this event, and you don't have to place on your own. But obviously at the time, like, you don't assume that I'm gonna honor that, right?
Right.
So he's like, I'll find you, I'll play you. So anyways, I'm like, all right, we're driving to the event. We get to our hotel room, and we there's Yu-Gi-Oh players in our lobby. So I travel with Matt Petal, my brother, and Chris Simos, who very good Yu-Gi-Oh player, but he's one of those guys. I'm sure you have him at your local, that like phenomenal player, but just didn't travel and didn't get those results, and just never hit that curve that all of us did. And he was that guy, right? So we get to the hotel room, and we get to the hotel. We go down to the lobby, and we see some Yu-Gi-Oh players, and it's Shane, Paul, Carlos, and Roy St. Clair, and like the rest of Team Scoop, like Justin Gilson, like all of them, Keith. So they don't know our faces. I know their faces, right? I know Paul already.
Right.
And Paul is like one of the hottest players at the time. He's running off 3 straight Shonen Jump tops. So I go up to them. I'm like, oh, hey, you guys want to play for money? And they just kind of look at us, and they're like, okay, like, who are you? Kind of thing. Like, oh, my name's Dale. So Paul kind of knows who I am because of the forums, right? Paul was on the forums, like, oh, my name's Dale. He's like, oh, you're Canadian, right? You're the Canadians? So we play for money in their hotel room, and I beat them. Like, I beat them for money, and I saw it, and I beat Roy St. Clair, I beat Shane, I don't think Paul plays me, but so the next event is Shonen Jump San Francisco after Chicago, right? And I'm playing them with, like, not my best deck. It's my best deck, but I'm siding fun cards, and at the time I'm siding Bazoo Return.
Okay.
Paul, and I beat them for money with Bazoo Return. Paul ends up winning the next event with Bazoo Return. So I tell him, I take every credit for your win. He'll never admit it. He'll never admit it. Wow. And if you look at my top 8 deck list, I have a Bazoo and a Return in there, right?
And then that becomes the meta for that tournament.
Yeah, it becomes a meta for the next. But anyways, we play this event, and I'm like, you know what? We gotta make a name for ourselves. We gotta solidify, like, Yu-Gi-Oh stardom. I like how you said you wanted, like, the stardom that we had.
Yep.
I wanted what Team Overdose had and what Team Comic Odyssey had, and I was like, I'm already 2 years behind, a year behind. So we get there. I meet Jerome for the first time, and I'm like, hey, we're from Canada. These are our credentials. You've seen a few of us. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll do team profile. And I'm the only one that chooses not to play the same deck. All of them play Warrior Toolbox, and I still like Mystic Tomatoes. I like Recruiters, and my deck list is like, it's called Tomato Control, but it's more hand control. Like clear out the back rows, attack with Reaper, and
I have a
just
question.
Yeah.
So I was looking at your deck list today, but doing my research for when you won Shonen Jump Champion Chicago, and
Yeah.
I noticed that you don't play MST, but you played 3 Dust Tornadoes. Is that correct? That you did play 3 Dust Tornadoes, but no MST?
Yeah, I think so.
That is because I'm looking.
I don't
So
know
if,
why.
when I, so that right, so I don't know if there really is an actual reason, and obviously this is the oldest that Yu-Gi-Oh goes. But when I was looking at it, at first I said, "Oh, MST must have been banned," but then I started scrolling, and the first name is Lazaro Bellido, and he's playing like the Warrior Toolbox with double Rhoda. You're playing 1, and he's playing MST and 2 Dust Tornadoes. But then I look at your deck list, the winning deck list, and you're playing 3 Dust Tornadoes. And at first I'm like, what the fuck? And then you also don't play Confiscation. And I was like, yo, Dale was on some shit. Now I know that you had to have you knew Confiscation existed, obviously, but you chose to
We
not
knew
play.
Confiscation was bad. We knew Confiscation wasn't that strong because there wasn't like really power cards you needed to hit.
Okay.
And you could just kind of run over everything.
Yeah.
Because Graceful just got banned, Pot just got banned, Duo just got banned. Oh, I don't know about Graceful, but I think the Trinity just got banned for this event.
Yeah, I don't think I saw
anyways,
any
like,
of those in I don't think I saw any of those in the decks. The Pot Graceful Duo thing.
Yeah. But yeah, Confi wasn't that strong at the time, so
yeah, you were like, fuck, and also it's probably not good going second too.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we get to the event. I play them for money. Day 2 starts or day 1 starts, and this is like the first time where like I'm starstruck again. I played big events, but like now I don't know anyone here. They're all Americans.
Yeah.
And in round 1, Lazaro plays Brian Cornell, which is on Team Overdose. Like one of my he was at the time my favorite player, and I was just like, oh shit. Lazaro is probably gonna go round 1 loss. I play Jordan Nasser. He's a guy that like has a few tops down the line. Round 1, and I beat him by I vividly remember he has a stealth bird. I hit it face up with the breaker after I break something. I snatch it and I kill him with his own stealth bird.
Oh shit!
But Lazaro comes back and he beats Brian Cornell, and I'm just like, all right, these guys ain't shit.
So at this point, Lazaro was actually like good too. He's already because he also topped.
So Lazaro's actually the worst player on our team at the time. Lazaro is trash, and this is the only time I can say this.
Right.
Like Lazaro is not that good. Lazaro is from us 4, he's probably the worst, right? And he beats one of the best. At the time, I believe the best player on Overdose, and he beats him. And I'm just like, oh, dude, Lazaro beat them, and Lazaro beat their best player. Our worst player beat their best player. So round 2, I don't know if on the metagame website it's I'm against a Miss Betty Ruth Black or something like that. And this lady almost single-handedly ends my dream in round 2.
Damn.
I remember this. I go, summon Donzaluk, attack, she pitches Karibo. I call her Karibo lady. She pitches a Karibo.
Not Karibo lady.
Yeah. She and Karibo, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I was going to hit a card out of hand. And all I have is Donzaluk.
Right.
And she goes on
like,
her
fuck
turn.
it. Karibo's good enough.
Yeah. She goes, snatch Dawn. And in my hand, I have a tomato. She snatches Dawn, and I have like another dead card.
Right, so you want that tomato.
I want the tomato because I'm going to go into a Reaper. She attacks, she hits the tomato. I'm like, great, right? So I don't have an out to my own Dawn, and she snatches. So I draw, and I draw Reaper. So I set Reaper. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll buy some turn, gain some life points. Her turn, she tributes for Air Knight. And like, this is game 3. So Air Knight is she's just hitting every time I draw, like, she hits an Air Knight, hits my Reaper, draws a card. I literally have to top deck. I top deck a Breaker just to answer the Air Knight to crash heads. I literally go like runner to win this game.
Jesus.
And Matt was watching the whole thing, and Matt's laughing. Like at the time, he's like, "You almost got destroyed by my mom, who's driving someone else's kid to the tournament.
Right. Like you almost lost to a Yu-Gi-Oh lady.
Oh man.
So she almost ends the dream. She's like super close. She doesn't know how close she is. And anyways, we make it to the second last round of Swiss, and I play Matt. So the craziest thing about this event is the second round. So I'll say in the last round of Swiss, second last round of Swiss, I play Matt, and Matt's just like also very confident in himself. Matt's like, just take the win. You can have the win. I'm like, you sure? He's like, yeah, I'll just beat my next opponent. I'm like, all right, appreciate it. I'll take the win. So last round is I'm perfect, and the other 4 team members, we had one other guy, Jason Tan, on the team. He was 7-2 already, or 6-2, so he couldn't top.
Jason Tan sounds familiar.
Yeah, he comes second. So he has a bunch of tops later on too, like a handful of tops. He comes second at nationals the year before. That's how he joins our team.
Yeah.
But like Lazaro's X1, Matt Petal is X1, and Chris Samos is X1. And I'm like, oh, we could take half of top 8. Anyways, Lazaro plays Matt. They get paired against each other in the last round. Damn. Chris Moss plays Augustin Herrera, who is another mainstay on the line. Yeah, he's on Monarch. Chris loses, and Lazaro beats Matt. And Matt didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. And I lose as well. So I don't go perfect. I lose the very last round. And Matt doesn't get in on breakers, which sucks.
Yeah, that really sucks.
If you know, Matt, similar to Joe Girlando, is one of the best players to never have a win.
Yep. He was the original.
Never have a win.
I think he's like the original of that archetype of person.
Yeah. And there's something I'll speak to that after. And I don't know Joe that well, but I know Matt very well. And I think it's just the type of player they are, which is why they're super successful, but also a detriment to not getting to like the finish line.
Yeah, that last little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, so Matt loses and I play Lazaro. And Lazaro tops, and we're in top 8. And at the time, it's my first full experience of Shonen Jump top 8s. They give deck lists out, and I'm playing against Matt. Puts my builds my opponent's deck, and his deck was way ahead of his time. It's at the time it's like Cyber Dragons, Decoy Cheese, Chaos Sorcerer.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yo, when I was looking at the top 8, I was like, holy shit, this guy was like ahead of the game.
Yeah, Bryce Edwards or Bryce Thompson's deck was definitely the best built deck at the time.
Yeah.
But I think I took advantage of him going. So Matt plays me, and Matt like 5-0s me at night, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose to this guy. So we go to that event, and I remember how I beat him. He goes set like 2 or 3 back rows, and set Dekoichi first turn. So I draw, I go set Storm, set Tomato, and he draws. He just flips. Dekoichi attack. I get Reaper because I have another Tomato in hand, and he just sets another back row. And I go draw, flip Pro Storm, and double Reaper shot him. So he has like one card, 1 or 2 cards, like my 6.
You destroy him before you go any further.
Destroy him.
Before you go any further, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because when I was looking at your final round feature match, like the grand finals, I'm pretty sure you pro heavied in the finals as well. And and I want to ask, like, are you the guy who invented pro heavy, or like what is going on with the pro heavy thing? Because
it's very hard to find. Yeah, it's hard to find proof, but there is a comment on Pojo where I was pro storming people back when we had Imperial, Feather Duster. Like I was doing it back in 2004 Nationals. So hard to say, but like I could be I tell people I'm the originator of the Pro Storm.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it in 2003, 2004.
Woo.
And
I'll tell you this, in the States, especially like, so I'm from the Philly area, but I'm also like tri-state. So like New York is close to me, Jersey's close to me, Maryland, Baltimore, all that stuff. And where I'm from, like in this area, Pro Storm was like every scrub wanted to do that play. That was like the fucking ultimate, like, you know what I mean?
That's everyone's favorite play.
Everyone thinks they're so cool if they could get a fucking Pro Storm off. Like if they could set Heavy Storm.
If you like, let's say like 2 people are playing, and for whatever reason people are watching that match. If somebody in that match does a Pro Heavy, it's like you just saw a womp. Like the crowd goes wild. Like people pop off if they see somebody do a Pro Heavy.
Pro Heavy was so.
It happened pretty often. like people would get excited when they would see it.
Yeah, that's the most like I don't know what the like cookie cutter play. People love that shit. They read it and they read it on Metagame, and they were like, "Oh, Dale's so broken. He's so cool." I thought the same thing too, but I was always afraid to do it. Like I did it. Don't get me wrong. I've done it sometimes, but for the most part, I knew how powerful Heavy Storm was, and it made me so scared to lose it setting it. So I had very little confidence with setting Heavy Storm, but you got that shit off a lot, and you got it off in like big matches that mattered.
Yeah, so the reason why I was able to get it off, if you look at my deck list, I have a lot of spell trap removal.
Yep.
So I have double Mobius. So it's okay if I lose that. I don't mind if I lose that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Part of, like the mentality of being able to do that, and like people couldn't do it because like, hey, they didn't play that much.
Yeah, you played like, 3 Dust Tornado, everything. Yeah, you definitely did have a lot of removal.
Yeah, so like obviously I was hedging my bets there a bit.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean I pro storm Bryce, I pro storm Paul, and then I pro storm Carlos.
Oh, so the whole thing.
Yeah. So they all got the work, right? Like all of them got it, and I made sure in my one feature match in top 8 to tell them that, hey, Carlos, I did this exact same thing to your teammate.
Yeah.
Minutes ago.
Yeah, I think that's a comment in the actual feature match.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And I get my win and unsurmountable joy.
Oh,
part of it. I know you can experience this. You can attest to how you feel at this time. But I was more happy that I didn't have to answer all the shit talk I did online.
Yep.
About
yeah.
Yep.
And this is the turning point where I become like polarizing Canada to being the people's champion of like Dale put us on his back and carried the flag, carried the Canadian flag through the States and brought it back with the crown on it type of thing. And unfortunately 2005 is where I peaked in Yugioh, and that is almost 20 years ago.
Wow. Don't say that.
Like I as Yugioh history goes on, like I have a very celebrated career.
Yes, yes, you do.
Lazaro far surpasses my my level, and
which is so crazy, still, right? Because he wasn't originally the chosen one, right? Like he never set out to be the chosen one, and he ended up like for a period of time, Lazaro was considered the best Yu-Gi-Oh player of all time. There was a period where Lazaro was considered. I mean, Lazaro left on top. Like no one can honestly say that they surpassed him while he was actively playing. Really, like he kind of left while being the best player. Like I remember like wanting to, first of all, winning one Shonen Jump or one YCS or whatever they called, winning one is hard enough. Like it's super hard, but he won like 3 of them or something. And one of them was the Costa Mesa one where like they gave out every single prize card in a trophy, which I still think that's like the best trophy that they've ever given out to this. Like even 2022, that is still the best trophy of all time. Also, it's probably worth so much more than every other trophy.
Yeah, but it's no longer in our possession. So
shit, really?
That's talk about the big loss. It's that
the big loss. What's this story?
It's just the big loss is like we sold it.
Oh shit! Okay, you eventually did sell it.
So I come back to Yu-Gi-Oh. So like fast forward 10 years. Yeah. 2015.
Yep.
I come back to Yu-Gi-Oh because there's a buyer for this trophy, and for the longest time, it's just sitting in our parents' display case, and we're like, oh, I don't want to mention how much we sell it for because what it's worth now is insane, and it makes us sick to think about it.
But here's the thing, in 2020, the collectibles market, not just Yu-Gi-Oh, but just collectibles across the board, skyrocketed in a way that no human being could ever have predicted. No one could ever. I even make this joke a lot of time because, like, you know, Steven Silverman goes to my local and a lot of other people who collect really, really expensive cards. I was telling them how, if you think about it, every trade we've ever made in our Yu-Gi-Oh lives has been incorrect because of what 2020 did to the collectibles market. Every trade I've ever done in my entire life has been a mistake. I should have held every card I ever bought. Like, obviously, this is hyperbole, but you get what I mean. The market. It accelerated so ridiculous in 2020 that now the old things that you had in your collection, the old things that I had in my collection that I sold, like for example, Ultimate Judgment Dragon. Judgment Dragon came out ulti, and I remember buying them for like maybe like $80 a piece at one point, and then I sold them for like $400 a piece, and I don't know, 2019 or beginning of 2020, and they just went up even like they just went up way more than that. And it's just everything I've ever sold that I thought I made really good money on, like technically I didn't, because just the way the cards, they're worth so much.
Yeah.
DDS Blue Eyes, I had DDS Blue Eyes. Those things are worth thousands of dollars now. Like, it's crazy.
Hey. It's sickening to think about it, but it's what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. I mean, you know, $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, but you can't predict the future. I know now if I buy anything as a collectible, I'm not selling it until like it's like just an absurd value. You know what I mean? Like now I know, okay, this is what it becomes in 20. When you let something wait for 20 years, you're going to see a crazy return. That's how I look at it now. But yeah, that trophy is iconic. It had all the prize. It had a crush card in it, right? Like that was one of them.
It was the first 5. It was right before Doom Calibur.
Yep. So it's like Cyberstein. Yeah, that's Volskav.
It's Silverman. I message before I sell his trophy. I'm like, what do you think I can get for it? And he tells me half the amount. He's like, if you get that, get it, take it. And I still have the message. Like, Silverman gets bothered by me asking him the value of shit. Like, Silverman's cool. Silverman has always been nice to me. He's amazing, right?
Yeah, he's known to be like a really good, because he's basically a vendor who's also really good at the game at the same time, which is, it's rare that you see someone who like buys cards, trades cards in a really high level, but also plays the game at a high level too.
Yeah, and he's like celebrated across multiple games, right? Yes. It's not just Yu-Gi-Oh. He was an amazing versus system player.
Yep.
When I played versus, and I was just like, it was to me my fun game when Yu-Gi-Oh was my competitive game, and this guy was just racking shit up. And then to see transferable skills in different games, you almost didn't see it. You still don't really see it. There are a few players, like Magic players, that decide to cross over to Yu-Gi-Oh, and some Yu-Gi-Oh that try to cross over to Magic, but not at like that super high level that Silverman had. Like Silverman is the GOAT too. Like, he is probably the most underrated. And I not to say that like he's not rated properly. Like, Silverman is in Yu-Gi-Oh history. People should know his name.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you know what's funny? I always talk about this on the podcast, but it's so funny to me that he won the last in real life YCS. Like, he is the reigning YCS champion right now. It's been for 2 years because they haven't had an event, and he was going to get a chance to run it back this week coming up, but they canceled it. He's been talking, you know, at the local, he's been talking about how he wants to get a chance to like go back to back and stuff, but he barely plays now, but he still has a chance because he's like, people are still bad. People will always be bad. And at the end of the day, like, when you have that X factor, you just have that X factor. And I believe in it. I believe in that X factor. Like, I believe that we have that thing, that spark, that like the all spark or whatever you want to call it, that just makes us like a little bit chosen to be winners.
Yeah, we never lose it. It's tied into like this nice package of confidence and critical thinking and just understanding that I know if I invest just a little bit more time, I will be better than you, type of thing.
Yep, that's exactly how I feel about Yu-Gi-Oh a lot. Like, I feel like if I were to jump back in even right now and I really tried, like I put the time in and I tried, I'll immediately be one of the best players currently playing again. Like, I have absolute confidence that would be a thing.
I believe that. And I don't know if you saw like have you, it seems like Ken's not here, but the Magnitude Gaming like Yu-Gi-Oh channel?
No, what is it, a Twitch channel or a YouTube channel?
No, it's just a YouTube channel that like they do the top 50 Yu-Gi-Oh players of all time.
Oh wow.
There's like a quick video, like you're in it, McCabe's in it. It's funny. I don't see Silverman, but it's crazy.
He should be, yeah.
He should be in it, and
definitely top 50, 100%. He has,
But it's based off tops, right? And you're very like you're high up there too. Like, to be in top 50 is something crazy, especially a game that's been around for like almost 20 years, or maybe coming up into 20 years.
Yeah.
But like, the crazy thing about Lazaro is heavily retired from 12 years ago, and he's still 12 on that list, which is insane.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
He had a crazy kill streak. Like, the kill streak is like, when he went on his success kind of came overnight. Like, no one really expected it. He was at the time just like a very good deck builder.
Yeah.
Like, Lazaro invented a lot of decks that people find popular. Like, Ken would probably like this. Lazaro invented the original like Monarch deck that became super popular that eventually got dubbed Spicer Monarchs. But Lazaro invented that deck.
Oh, okay.
And similar to before Jeff taking the guard of like the top innovator,
yeah.
it was Lazaro, it was Shane, and
Lazaro's also quiet. That's so him and McCabe remind me of each other a lot. Like Lazaro's like super McCabe. He's like the super version of him. Like if McCabe went Super Saiyan, he would transform into Lazaro because McCabe has gotten second at 2 YCS. So he lost to me. He lost to Patrick Hoban in the finals.
Yeah.
He's going to Worlds. He has gotten third at like 2 or 3 Shonen Jump / YCSs. So he has like extremely high credentials. He has a lot of tops, like 16 plus tops. So he's a lot of tops. And they're all like Shonen Jumps and like YCSs and stuff like that. So, well, I guess mostly YCS because I think that's when we both started to like. But he's like but he's quiet. He's a really, really, really decorated player. But because he's so quiet, I don't think people really realize how good McCabe actually is. Whereas like, and like Lazaro's so quiet, like he doesn't Lazaro. I've never seen Lazaro on duelist grounds arguing with someone. You know what I mean? Where I might go on duelist grounds, and if there's an argument happening, I might literally see Dale post a comment and like go back and forth.
Over there,
yes.
And I'm getting defended by Matt because I said something dumb and my foot's in my mouth. But Matt is the good guy to take me out of it.
Exactly.
But like, it's funny that McCabe has like 2 second places, and like Worlds. Lazaro actually, so before he goes on his run, in a span of 8 months, Lazaro goes second, first, second, first.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Lazaro racks up a shitload of prize cards. And when I tell you, like, swinging start at the playground, you better believe that I was putting his crush card that he won and his gold start in my deck, destroying people at locals.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And putting them in the worst decks possible.
Yeah,
just to be like,
crush carding somebody is crazy with the original crush card.
Yeah, it was a crazy run, and it was just like it came overnight. He was a consistent player at the time. He was consistently topping, but like his stardom just shot.
At what point do you guys join? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, at what point do you guys join Overdose? Because I remember Overdose used to have, it sounds like part of it because of you guys, but like crush cards, like that was a thing. Like you guys had like that was part of the thing that me and Silverman used to always say. If you win a crush card, you keep it and then you win another one with it. And like you don't sell your first crush card. You use it to get more crush cards. And that was like was like the mindset, is because that card was that ridiculous.
Broken. And it's so funny we say that because when Lazaro wins Costa Mesa, we already sold the crush card and he wins without it. But
wow.
But for us, we didn't. So very different than the Yu-Gi-Oh players of today, and not take away from them, is we didn't have as many events, and we only stayed on East Coast. And on East Coast, we only stayed where we could drive. It's very expensive to fly from Canada, like infinite expensive, plus a hotel, plus our dollar is way shittier than yours.
Oh yeah,
so I could not hit SJC Honolulu to make it 22. I cannot go to Kansas to make it 23, right? And it sucks, but it's what it is. We made best with what we can, and this is where it was Matt's mom literally driving us. Like we're broke.
She came in clutch. Yeah, you're kids.
Yeah, we're kids, right? Like and
I got a shout out to Matt's mom.
Yeah, let's give a shout out. Round of applause to Matt's mom. Matt's mom, everyone. I mean, she was clutch. She was the Miss Leverett before there was a Miss Leverett. Driving the duelist. Literally, she was driving around the best players in the world to events, the same way Miss Leverett drove Patrick Hoban and the boys, her kids, to events, which Hoban became the best player in the world. Lo and behold, there's a woman who's super nice driving him around with pillows and shit. Like,
with the support. And it's funny, she upgraded her van to get a DVD player in the back for us, and she thought about like, hey, she was so clutch.
I feel like you guys wouldn't be nearly as successful without this lady. Like, this is how insane she's that good.
She planned everything. She's just like, hey, we're leaving on this time. She would make sure that she left work early, that we could all make it, and true blessing. Yeah. And we don't actually, so Frazier, we don't join Overdose till the original Overdose members tend to fade off. Okay. So the core Overdose, they end up adding Shane and Paul and Adam.
Yep.
And after Chris and Lazar playing the finals of
Perovic.
Costa Mesa.
Yep.
We joined together on that next event in Columbus. Like we've been collabing forever. Like at that time, every time we had like a Super Friends deck list profile, Paul Leviton is in that picture, right?
Yeah.
Like he'll take our deck every time. So we finally we joined forces then, and at that time, Chris and Anthony are kind of already out the door. So it's just to carry the Overdose flag and keep it at a super high level, and we do it for as long as possible. And
yeah, because I remember when you guys joined Overdose, like when you mentioned Shane, like Shane, Paul, Adam, and then you guys. I remember being, at this point, like I'm a high teenager. I'm like pretty old in my teenage years, but because this is like Teledad, I remember thinking to myself, there is no fucking way they should be allowed to be all on one team. Like those players with all of those wins, all of those tops. Also, Adam was fucking insane. He just wouldn't stop topping everything he touched.
His biggest streak, he did 10 in a row, right?
He did more than that. I think Adam's streak is 16 or something like that. Adam, it was okay. It was so bad. It might be exaggeration, but Adam's streak was so ridiculous that I used to say to my friend Thomas, if Adam attends the event, it's actually a top 15 event. It's not top 16 because one spot is going to Adam because he literally topped every single event he went to for a very long time. And it was just like guaranteed back then. And at this time I didn't know anything about all the other crazy stories that you end up hearing later on in life, but like he was just, from what I understand, like at my naive young age, just the GOAT. I was like, this guy just tops, and he's a kid too. He's young. I think he was like the youngest person. Yeah. So he's pretty young. He won nationals, and then he just keeps on like topping everything and just kind of like innovating too. And what was scary about it was when you would read his feature matches, he would destroy his opponents. Those feature matches, still to this day, I think they stand the test of time. They would just be so one-sided. Like they would just be so. I'll never forget. I think it's a finals of a Shonen Jump Championship. He has 2 solemn judgments face down. And he never, ever uses them the entire match. It's a Teledad mirror match. It's like him playing Teledad. I don't know if it's the finals or it's like top 8, but he's playing a Teledad mirror match, and he has 2 solemn judgments set, and he never at any point in the entire game uses these 2 solemn judgments. He wins the entire game without using them. And I thought that, as a kid, that blew my fucking mind. Like, I cannot tell you, because there were moments when I was reading a paragraph, and I'm like, oh, Adam's going to solemn finally. And he just doesn't. He just lets it go. And he just keeps playing, and he never uses them. He just wins without. Mind blowing. I'll never forget that shit.
Yeah, it's amazing. Adam was kind of handed from Iman this you are the next one, right?
Yeah.
And it was between Adam and Lazaro were the 2 going back and forth.
Yep.
And be it as it may, they both end very, very high up. And Overdose is was a dominant force, super dominant force, even by today's measures with teams now.
Even today's measures, that team is still the number of wins you guys have.
I think they're the most known team. Like that's the most known name in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh teams by far, I think.
Yeah, it's probably surpassed by one team, which is ARG.
Yeah,
but it's on so those.
But they became a business.
They're different levels of every other team.
Yeah.
But they are like ARG is the new Overdose, if you want to.
Yeah. We became like at the time the modern, because now we're not modern anymore. But we were the modern Overdose. Like you had Patrick Hoban, Billy Brigg, Jeff Jones, me, like Alistair. It was just ridiculous. Like Alex Van Sant, like that team, that Ryan Spicer I think was on it at one point. And like we were all on a banner. And I was thinking to myself, like, it is so crazy to me that I used to dream about being on a team of like super friends, essentially, like people who are just absurd. And now I'm literally on that exact thing. Like in 2010, 2011, 2012, I was thinking that like this is so weird. Like 5 years ago, like 2005, and then flash forward to 2010, I get my first win, my first top. And then I go on a tear after my first, because like it's all mental. So after I topped and won, it like it released something in me that made me like, this isn't that hard. Like people, they're not better than you. You're actually just, you're good. Like, you know what you're doing. You're confident. You've done it already. Also, that takes a big stress off. Like, I already won. So win or lose, going into every round, like I already won. So, and people are scared of you too. They're terrified. I'm sure you've had
You-
it happen. Go ahead.
Love that. You have infinite stories of free wins.
Me
I
too.
have like, oh yeah,
Dog.
it's like
I can't tell you how many times. I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting because I like to get to the table first, just so I can face the clock. I'll literally be sitting there shuffling my deck, getting my setup out, my spell ground, my all my shit, and then my opponent will literally walk up and be like, "Oh fuck, I just know I'm going to lose." And I like you said, I love that. Like I already know I won this round.
Yeah. It's so funny because like, so I don't obviously play competitive now, and I am still connected to like very high level Yu-Gi-Oh players, like Jesse, for example.
Yes.
And Jesse would help me, what I would believe instantly, because I've known Jesse since he was like
A child.
7 years old.
Yeah, actual child.
Yeah, literally a child. I've known him ever since the beginning of his Yu-Gi-Oh career and like very early in his life. I've known him for more years than like he hasn't known me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And
which is wild.
And Jesse has this not love for me, but like not respect. Like I'm regarded in the Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I don't play often.
Yeah.
I don't play at all.
Yeah.
But like I'm kind of like the godfather of Canadian Yu-Gi-Oh. Right?
Yeah.
And
no, you are for sure.
They come to help me, and I still kind of keep myself relevant, and not to the fact that like it boosts my ego at all. It's more so because I love the game, and it's one of my it is on my deathbed. I will talk about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent a big part of our childhood. That's what we did. Like I gave my childhood when I think about what I did with my life before I became, an accountant and like, now I'm a content creator, which I never saw this coming, like that I would be doing this podcast and stuff like that. But the first 20 years of my life I gave to Yu-Gi-Oh. Like that's what I did with my life.
I did the exact same, and a lot of the skills that I learned in Yu-Gi-Oh and the personality that I built and the identity that came about this helped me in my career. Like,
I agree.
Like it shaped me for the better, and I would have never known that at the time. And it's given me the best friends that I've had, that I'll ever have. I'll never find better friends. And it's if I could say anything to the Yu-Gi-Oh players of today's age is cherish these moments like as much as you can.
Yeah.
And cherish the friends that you make, and it's their family. Agree. Like it's insane. I love it. I love it. Like you said,
Matt Petal lives down the street from you, and that's huge because I can attest to like I just thought about it as you said it, and it's kind of obvious, but I don't know why I never really thought about it. All of my friends, like my closest friends, are all Yu-Gi-Oh players. Every single one of them.
Yes.
Every single one, like Kenny, fucking Silverman, McCabe, Gus, Xavier, like every single one of my closest friends is a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Every single one.
Yeah.
We met at Red Cat in 2010.
Yeah, we met before you went.
I always think it's 2009, but it's 2010.
It's 2010. January 2010 is when I remember you first coming to Red Cap. I topped a ton of regionals. In Philly, I was a fucking monster. Like
that's why it's funny though when you hear Frazier talk, because once again I knew like me and him became really, really good friends before he won a YCS, right? But it's funny because in Philly, like nobody could really, like at least in like Steve Silverman and stuff, but a lot of the people couldn't beat him. Like he'd go to any local and it'd be like, well, Frazier probably won.
It was so bad in my area, Dale, that at Red Cap's Corner, the local that we eventually went to, because our old local got closed, so we started going to the place called Red Cap's Corner. They would have tournaments and people would not enter when they looked at the sign-up sheet and saw my name on it.
They would pay them not to enter.
Yeah. So the
people that ran the store paid Frazier not to enter.
Yeah, the local would say, here, how about this? Every time you come, because we really can't not let you enter if you want to, right? They were like, so to incentivize you to not enter the tournament so that we can get an actual turnout, we'll just pay you to not enter the tournament, which was, and I didn't think about at the time, like how fucking broken that was. But like that is how polarizing it was.
Broken.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's no other player. Yeah, you might be the only one. Like I'm pretty sure. Because if that happened to me, I'm telling people.
I didn't think anyone. Bro, when it was happening, I literally didn't think anything of it. I kind of was like, I told my friends, like, it kind of made me a little sad. Because I wanted to compete. Like my whole thing was I like to compete. Even though it was kind of like swinging my sword in the playground, I still
Yeah.
like to swing my fucking sword in the playground.
Yeah,
I still wanted to do it. Like I wanted to take my literal top tier deck and beat the shit out of people who were playing like plants or something, like some deck that just wasn't
100%.
even. So like when they were just not entered, they would look at the sign up sheet and be like, I ain't playing tonight. Fraser's playing. And I'm like, damn, I can't even get any store credit. Cause like that was my way of getting store credit and stuff, but they ended up paying me for it. So it ended up working out in a weird way. But then that year it got worse because then I won. And then, and then people were really like, absolutely not. Like, fuck off. I've never played in this local.
But that's it's so funny to me because I remember like we would just hang out all the time. I'd play Yu-Gi-Oh! Not nearly as competitive. I just played. I enjoyed going to locals and stuff. And then I would go hang out with you. We would play Melee and shit. Just random crap. But it's funny because, you know, you talk about how it was a mental thing and how, you know, when you would go, you were nervous until you won. Your first top in YCS was your first win. But it's funny because there was a playground where there was no reason to be nervous. You demolished everybody.
Yeah.
But then there was another amusement park above a playground that you hadn't broken into. And then once you broke into it, you know, it was a different game.
Yeah, it's interesting how it works because I have to believe to some degree that like it's definitely mental. It doesn't make sense to me that I never top, and I was going to Shonen Jump Championship, so I went to the one that Jeff won with Quick Draw Dandelion or whatever, the 75th in Edison. Yes, I went to Edison, and I got 34th or 36 at Edison, so I was really close. I went 10-2.
Oh, super close.
I was 10-2, so I was 10-2 with Machina Gadgets, and I lost the tiebreakers. Obviously, I got 34 for 36. And that hurt me really bad. And so that would have been my first top. And that's the same year I ended up winning. So that was the first event of the year. That was the first or second event. Because Silverman actually won. I think Silverman won the first event of the year, which was the California.
Twilight, right?
Yeah, he won California, which was the first event. And I won the last event of the year. And to me, it was crazy because when Silverman won, I was so jealous. I was like, wow, this fucking guy. Because at the time, I couldn't really travel. I never flown before. So my first time ever getting on an airplane was also at YCS Atlanta. I never flew in my life. At least maybe I flew when I was a baby or something. But I never flew as an adult or anything until YCS Atlanta. So when Silverman flew to Cali and then won the fucking event, I was like, damn, Philly finally has a champion, but it's not me. It's kind of it's kind of how you described in your story. You were like, this guy did better than me, but it's not me. Like I wanted it to be me, and then I ended up winning. It's just so weird how life happens. It's like, well, you get your redemption, but now this fucker has 2 wins, and I don't plan to play again, so I don't know what I'm gonna do.
No, and I know you're very similar to me, where you want to solidify your legacy more. Like an extra win doesn't really do anything more for you.
It doesn't
to anyone else's eyes, but to you it does.
Yes,
and just like me, like for. Lazaro loves Yu-Gi-Oh! Equally as much as I do, but he doesn't need to come back because he's done it all. And like, I'm still in a shadow, right? And we all cast a shadow on somebody else, but to be in someone's shadow, especially someone so close, like Silverman is probably like a brother to you.
Yeah, I've known him for literally like 20 years at this point.
Yeah. And Lazaro, like figuratively, like actually my brother.
Yeah, actually.
Talk about it, yeah.
He's the younger brother. It's so weird.
It's
and there are things that there's things that I still want to do. Like I want to go to Worlds.
You probably think the exact same thing as me. If I go to Worlds, I can win Worlds.
That's what I think. I really believe that.
Yes. We have very similar mindset. Like we're pretty much very, very similar. Like our mindset.
I really feel like if I went to Worlds, I'm like, God damn it, how do you guys fuck this up every time?
How do you guys fuck this up?
Lazaro went to Worlds and played Lightsworn. I'm like, why did you play Lightsworn? Why?
What were the decks? What was the right deck to play at that time?
Gladiator Beast.
Oh,
because so Lazaro would have had, and Lazaro's a Gladiator Beast king.
Yeah.
And this guy plays Lightsworn.
Yeah.
He's gonna listen to this. But
he's gonna hear it.
He's gonna hear this, and be it as it may, Shane and Lazaro both were going to Worlds that same year, and Lazaro wasn't sure on a deck list, and Shane doesn't get his passport in time, and Shane had like a Gladiator Beast deck built, similar to the guy who wins the event with Andal, like the vanilla monster.
Yeah.
but yeah, Lazaro just doesn't get a deck together, and it's at the time where it's very hard to communicate. For him in Germany, back home here, because like internet, his laptop, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. That stuff. It's not so easy to communicate as it is now. So he doesn't. We can't talk often. But yeah, it's just one of those things that Shane doesn't go, and then Lazaro plays Lightsworn, and Lightsworn is the biggest. Like Lightsworn has cost me more tops than it's given me. Like I'm the first to ever talk with Lightsworn, and I just have such an attachment to the deck, but it's cost me like so many shonen
Like
jump tops.
you mean playing it and then losing with it and not topping because of you played it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I know that feeling. I've played some decks that I really wanted. Maybe I had success with it and I wanted to top with it again. For example, one of my biggest mistakes is fucking playing Karakuri for YCS. I played Karakuri like on a Friday tournament before YCS and I won.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of duelists from all over the country. You know, everyone comes on Friday. And there was a tournament. This is back when they were doing, this is like 2011. And they were doing all of these like Friday tournaments. That was like a thing that was happening. It was like, oh, Xbox 360 tournament or PlayStation 3 tournament.
Yeah,
so I ended up playing it and I ended up winning the fucking Xbox with the Karakuri deck, but it wasn't my real deck. My real deck was plants. So then I said, wait a second. I just won with this. I beat all the plant decks. Maybe this is what I should play for the YCS. I got Snake Charmed and I played Karakuri and I got fucking creamed. And that like, and then I still wanted to top with Karakuri and I was like, why don't I let this shit go? I want an Xbox with it. It's not that serious, but I couldn't let it go. I wanted to top with it so bad. And that just, if I would just played plants every single event like everyone else, I probably would have had one or two more tops.
Yeah, you would have had to make me play for like another 1 or 2 years to make sure I was ahead of you. So, but
I love that. I love that.
It's funny you say that because I'm pretty sure I cost Lazaro another win, and
wow,
not many people know this story because we only had one crush card left, and Lazaro just like he was always let me do what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
and there was an indie that he's in top 16 without a crush card, and he ends up losing because he has a card. He draws a card that's not the crush card that would have been the crush card, but he lets me play it in a Wing Rhinos Apprentice Robin Goblin deck. I took a crush card and put it in a deck with Apprentice Magician and Wing Rhinos to play at a Shonen Jump.
Oh my god!
I go 0-2 with a crush card in my deck, and Lazaro loses in. No, the story isn't talked about enough, and it's because I was crushing people at locals with this Wing Rhinos deck, and I just wanted to be innovative. But innovation's not my thing. Technical play is my thing, similar to you, Fraser.
Same. I'm not the innovator.
Yeah, I try to be the innovator, and then I do dumb stuff like that, right? And
yeah, same.
Cost Lazaro a win.
Yeah,
but,
my innovation definitely does the same thing. It's like I'm a scientist in the lab, and then shit starts blowing up.
Yeah,
like I'm sure you've gotten away with some of it though, because I've gotten away with some of it. Like for example, one of my last tops, I think it's in 2015 or 2016, but I topped with combining Magispectors with Metal Foes and made a 51 card deck. That deck is a fucking rant. Like it should not work. It's so random. No one else. I don't think anyone has ever played it outside of me. I literally made it up. I told my friend Shuping, who like he went on to become a YCS champion and he won the UDS belt and everything like that. So he's really big now too. But like he told me, he's like, you're fucking crazy. Do not play that. Like just play Metal Foe. Like do not enter this YCS. I was like, shoo, I've already won. I don't need like I just want to do shit that I just want to style on people with my random 51 card deck. And he would like berate me and shit, and then I would go and top it. And then he, you know, at the time he didn't top it, and I was like, look at me, look, I almost won. I was like, I almost won with this shitty deck that I made myself.
I'll never forget. I told this story before on the podcast, but because of doing this podcast, my YouTube started recommending me Fraser videos because I'm doing the IMNerd podcast, so there's IMNerd stuff in my YouTube. And then so I started getting recommended videos of like Fraser deck profiles and shit, and I thought that was funny because it's like YouTube, you don't realize that I'm but so it's funny. So I find out about that 51 card deck top because I see it in my recommends. It's like Fraser Smith deck profile, like 51 card deck, and I was like, what?
Yeah, and you asked me about it. You're like, what the fuck were you on?
I'm like, Fraser topped a YCS with a 51 card deck.
Yeah, that was on my way out. Like that was when I knew I didn't really care about, like I still obviously I wanted to like win and stuff like that still in 2015, but I kind of was like, it would be so fucking cool to win with this. Like, how crazy would that be? And I mean, I got top 16, and I actually got my first ever game loss at a tournament at a YCS ever. I forgot to write Big Eye on my deck list. Like, it's not anything crazy,
Wow.
but like, I literally wrote 14 cards on my extra deck. And when they showed me my deck list, I almost didn't believe it because that has never happened to me before. Like, I'm like anal about writing out my deck list. I've never had a deck list error before. So when they showed me, and like, there just wasn't a Big Eye listed on there, but obviously it was in my extra deck. I was like, wait, I'm getting a game loss for not writing this down. Like, how did this happen? And I don't know. But then I ended up losing. And it's funny, the kid I ended up losing to was fucking Cody. I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly, but Cody Angeloff. And he wins a YCS and national. He's the last national champion. Like, we have not had a national champion since him because of COVID. So it's kind of crazy that like some of these stories, how like these things just happen, right? Like, you lose to somebody or you beat somebody, and then who they end up becoming is just like insane. Like, he's now one of the best players.
The reason why you never messed up your deck list before is you never wrote a 66 card deck list.
That is true. That honestly,
that's probably it.
Honestly, that is true. I think that is part of the reason why I've never wrote a deck list that was that many cards. So that could have something to do with it. Just like writing 51 cards on a deck list is crazy already. I think I had to use the back. Like, I think I literally had to write monsters on the back or something because you don't have enough space. But yeah, crazy times.
It's insane that we're at like almost a 2 hour mark, and I only talked about
just 2 years
of Yugioh.
Yes, it's that is absurd.
I didn't even get to talk about like our similarities in. You mentioned one thing where you don't finish RPGs, and I messaged you this right away when you said that in one of your earlier podcasts. Like, I don't finish RPGs. Like, I have, and we enjoy just like running through games and destroying people.
Yep.
Like, and
yeah, the similarities are kind of scary. I'll get all the way to the end of an RPG or like very close to it and just stop for no reason.
I've never seen the ending of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
I've never beat Sephiroth because like I kill all the weapons, and I'm just like, all right, let me max out everything.
Yep.
And
then
like, I have exactly, like I actually have a completionist save file of Final Fantasy VII, like every 3 of every mastered materia on all of my guys right before the crater, the final save point. I won't go back and play it for some reason. And what's crazy is, like, as your podcast came out, I don't know where I was missing anime for all this time, right?
Yeah.
It was probably because I was so into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was more of like the sports guy, watch sports.
Okay.
And I didn't like, to me, like, the animes that I did watch were like Full Metal, and that was only because people like Full Metal's Brotherhood is one of the greatest animes of all time. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a go. And I got into Fairy Tail. But just recently, like maybe 2-3 years ago, I just started watching Naruto. Where has this been all my life?
Yeah.
Naruto and Naruto and Hunter. Hunter.
Oh God. We still have to do an episode.
And when I'm listening to your podcast, I'm like, I could feel the joy in your voice, and I'm living. It's crazy that I get to live it now because this is new to me.
Yes.
But similar to video games, I don't know why I don't finish animes. Maybe I just don't want things to end. And
yeah, there must be something psychological going on with us that like we don't want things to end.
Like, I'm still on, like, for Hunter x Hunter, like, I'm at the Chimera arc, right?
Okay,
and everyone tells me this is the best arc of it. But like, I'm obviously, like, I'm busy with work.
Yeah.
But when I fall asleep really easily watching stuff, it's probably my age. It's one of those things, and I wake up super early.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I fall asleep mid-conversation.
Yes, he does.
And one thing you guys don't like, but I have to watch English dub because sometimes I turn around and I can't read.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, as I've gotten older, Dale, dub anime is starting to grow on me. Like, and this is happening in the last year. I don't know what's going on, but I've been liking dub a little bit more. For example, Squid Game, I watched it in dub. Like, I watched it with English voice acting. McCabe was surprised about that because McCabe hates anime, but he watched Squid Game in Korean, and I was like, that's odd. I was like, I watched that shit in English because I didn't have time to be reading. I also started it at 2 a.m. I started Squid Game at 2 a.m. So like at 2 a.m. I'm not reading shit. I was in my bed. I was like, I just want to see what the hype is about. And I put it in English. And I've been like low key watching more things in English. Now, granted, certain things I just feel like I need them to be in Japanese. Like my Attack on Titan, because it's not translated yet and it's coming out now, and Demon Slayer, because it's also not translated in English yet. So those things, like I still watch in Japanese, but I'm more tolerable. Like if I went back and watched Naruto, if I wanted to do a rewatch, I would rewatch it in English. I would not rewatch it in Japanese because I just don't have the attention span to sit there and read all like 700 episodes of subs. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Once again, I said this before, but since my little brother, I have a lot of little brothers, but my little brother that I watch anime with, who's 10 years old right now. Since him, I got him in the anime when he was like 4. Since him, I've been watching a lot of dubs. Like I got into watching dubs a lot in the last, I guess, 6 years. Just because I watch anime with him a lot. Like I remember when he was a kid, 5 years. I mean, he's still a kid. When he was like 5, he used to come home from school and he'd be like, "Hey, I want to watch the anime with the 2 brothers and their mom died." And that was Fullmetal Alchemist. But like I was watching FMA with him, but the way he talked, he's like, he didn't know the name. He's like, "I want to watch the anime with the 2 brothers and their mom died." Like that's what FMA was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you got back in anime though, Dale, because right now I feel like is a golden season, a golden era of anime.
Insane stuff. And like it's so funny that your podcast is kind of what catapults me into certain stuff. Like you put me into the direction of like Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, yep.
And it's funny, right? I have a lot of friends that do watch anime, and like I'll mention, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're watching that?" They start the game, I'm like, "Hold, I heard about it.
Right.
I heard it's
right. Yeah.
I'm about to start. So relax. We can't have this conversation."
Yeah, they're about to spoil the fuck out of you.
It's amazing because this world of anime that I have not been exposed to, even though Yu-Gi-Oh is an anime.
Yeah, but not this. It's not the same.
It's not. It's a branch out, but like I'm discovering this stuff, and it's just next level. Like I do not have enough in this lifetime to enjoy everything. So that's kind of why like I have to watch with English with dub, because I'll need to work, right? I'll need to look down at my phone and do some work stuff and still not fall behind, right?
Yeah. Well, if you get a chance before the end of the year when Bleach comes back, that might be something to catch up on.
Yeah, Bleach is going to be big. Yeah. That's coming back. You can watch that in English. I'm sure it's all dubbed and everything now. Bleach is really good up until the end of the Eisen era or whatever, but it's really, really, really good.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into it. Like I romanticize a lot of like the older animes, like Rurouni Kenshin and Cowboy Bebop, stuff like so. Any anime that kind of came out before my Yu-Gi-Oh career, I remember.
Yeah,
but like Yu-Gi-Oh kind of just encapsulated my life. Like Naruto came out that time, Hunter x Hunter came out that time, Bleach was at that time.
Yep.
But yeah, I missed that.
Did you see Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yes, yeah, that too. So I love Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
And I'm on the fence that I think it's better than Dragon Ball at that time. I know not a lot of people agree. And
no, I think that's a hot take. I think if you're looking for, go ahead.
I don't know the hot take on that, right? But I truly for what's given in that certain amount of time, I definitely enjoyed.
I think when it comes to storytelling, Yu Yu Hakusho blows Dragon Ball Z out the water. Like if there's a comparison on storytelling between those two, I would say
Dragon Ball is way bigger, but Yu Yu Hakusho, I'll never forget. I've talked about this a lot and just in my life. But the ending, like the end of Yu Yu Hakusho, I don't really want to talk about it just in case anybody hasn't seen it. And eventually we'll do an episode on it.
Yeah, we haven't done an episode on it yet.
But the end of Yu Yu Hakusho, and it has something to do with a beach. I'm not going to say much more. But like the very end, that shit gets to me so hard. Like it gets to me so hard, man.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho has really good storytelling, but Dragon Ball is iconic for all of the reasons that it's iconic for. You know what I mean? Like power-ups, insane explosions, just like characters talking shit. I feel like it's definitely Dragon Ball kind of started that whole, we're literally just talking shit to each other. Developing a personality. Yeah.
Like Toriyama from Dragon Ball Z is just heralded throughout like nerd culture.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's the GOAT.
And
he's gigantic in Japan. Like, he's gigantic in Japan. I don't know if he still is. Obviously, I don't live in Japan. I wouldn't know. But when I was super into Dragon Ball Z and I would always like know all the trivia about it, there was a period of time where a lot of the common jokes and like things that was said in Japan were jokes that came from Dragon Ball. Like Dragon Ball made up these weird little jokes and puns, and they became in common language in Japan in that time period.
I don't know if you guys ever did this, but like you say we're close in age, but I feel like I'm a bit older than you guys. Like I'm probably closer to Silverman's age.
Okay,
maybe
Silverman's not that much older. I want to say like he's probably 2, maybe 3 years older than me.
Yeah. I'm 35.
Okay, so you're a couple years older than me then.
Yeah, you guys are closer to probably Lazaro's age. And,
okay.
But I'm gonna say
I cannot tell that you are 35 at all.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's exactly where I was gonna lead with this. That
my man,
I don't look 35. So
no, you don't. You don't look 35. I would never guess. Also, here's what's scary to me. This picture, again, if you're on Patreon, you can see what I'm talking about. This picture where I think it's when you won the first time. So the young, you look older in that picture than you do right now.
Fine wine, my friend.
Like that, Kenny, do you see what I mean? Like that guy looks like an older henchman or some shit, like a gangster.
Yeah.
He looks older there than he does in actual, like physically seeing him in person right now.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It's one of those things where when I got away from Yugioh, I got to take care of my body a lot more.
Yeah, that's so important, man. That's so important. I did the same thing.
Yeah, and it's just it does wonders for
your mind too.
Everything like it. Not to be superficial, but it gives you that confidence boost.
It does.
And it carries
into everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Like you said,
you look great right now.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you.
You look great.
You guys too.
I gotta shave. I didn't shave yet. I gotta shave up. I'm a little messy right now.
I only look good for Instagram these days. Like if you see me on Instagram,
you see this is 35 years. I wish I could grow what you have. 35 years. I'm struggling with this.
Yeah, so you just have the baby face, no facial hair, really.
I gotta throw a filter on my phone to see what I actually look like with the beard.
Oh shit! Yeah, the technologies for that is really good these days too. Like it looks really good when people do that.
I grow a really thick, mean beard, and I shaved it. I shaved it a little. I had a big beard that I was like just kind of keeping tabs on, but I ended up shaving it for a funeral I had to go to, and then I'm in the phase where now I've been shaving it off again because when you're growing the beard out, there's a phase where it's really itchy all the time. And eventually it grows past that point where it's never itchy anymore. But that middle phase is annoying. So I either shave it all the time and get rid of it, or I let it grow past that middle phase and then I don't want to shave it because I don't want to be itchy again.
Yeah. I don't get the glory of having a beard. It would be nice to be able to grow one.
Yeah, just to have the option. Just the option. Because I never had facial hair until 2018. So if you saw me, which you have, before 2018, I used to be clean shaven. And what's scary to me is that now, when I look at myself without facial hair, I'm creeped out because I look weird. Without facial hair, I think I just look so fucking strange. And one time, so in 2018, I grew facial hair out because I got a new job. And my new job, they don't give a fuck about facial hair. They don't care about what you wear. They don't care about facial hair. So there's like no dress code really. And there's no policy on facial hair, but there used to be at my job that I worked at for a while. So I was always clean shaven. And I also went to Catholic school. And in Catholic school, they also make you literally shave if you come in with facial hair. Wild. So my whole life, I was always a clean shaven person. And then 2018, I got this new job. I grew up my facial hair for the first time in my life, and I liked it. And everyone was complimenting me, like, "Hey, I'm liking the new look," but I always kept it like close how it is, like really like 5 o'clock shadow looking. And I don't know why, but like in 2019, a year later, I decided, let me just cut it all off and just go back to like clean shaven just to see. And when I tell you that I looked so scary, like, and not in a good way at all, like in no good way that I look.
You don't
creepy.
recognize yourself.
I look
when you go back, you don't recognize yourself.
I look strange.
When you grow out your hair, when you grow out your beard, right? It's a gradual process.
Yeah.
So you see yourself every day, and so when you have a full beard, to you don't look weird because when you shave it off,
Yeah.
You shave it off. Now you're going from full beard to nothing. You're like, who? What the fuck?
It just looks weird. Like I look strange. It's just not a good look. So I'll never ever. I tell everyone I will never cut off my facial hair ever again because the way I looked that week that I went to work with no facial hair, my one coworker in the most polite way possible, he looked at me and said, "You look different," and he just stared at me. He just stared at me.
Say you look different or you look tired, it's just like, all right, I get it.
Yes. The
Like,
way he said
thanks.
it, I walked past and he was like, "You cut off your facial hair?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You look different." And it was the pause and everything. And he just kind of like stared for a second. And I knew, I was like, God damn it. Like, I cannot wait till this shit grows back in. I was so annoyed that like that week or 2 week period, because my facial hair doesn't grow that fast, but yeah, it's a whole thing. Dale, what I want to do is I want to bring you back because I feel like we need to have a part 2 for this one, especially because we really didn't get far. Like we talked so much about like the early days, but we act like I'm desperate. And I say this at the end of every guest episode that they need to come back, but I want to have you back in February at the latest because we do need to have a part 2 to discuss more Yu-Gi-Oh, but also just more like nerd shit in general, just like other life things that I want to talk about.
Yeah, because you said you had a bunch of random crap you wanted to bring up and talk about.
I have so much.
But look, now you have time to write it down and everything. But I want to schedule you in February. Like I'm putting a date on this one. Like if you're able to, in February, let's have you back so we can like do part 2 of this, because this conversation could easily be 4 hours, but obviously we don't release 4-hour episodes of the podcast. So I do want to like bring you back.
I think as a side note, something else would be interesting just as we were sitting here talking. I know you said you don't really know him as much, that Joe Giorlando, but we should try to set something up, just have you two talk. He's the historian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think you guys could have I think it'd be really interesting to hear Dale Bellido and Joe Giorlando have a conversation. I think that'd be a great content for somewhere. If it's not an IMNerd podcast, it'd be great content somewhere.
Yeah, it would be an honor. It's an honor to like come back and have like a schedule in February, and I will, like you said, Fraser, like I told you, literally, you summon me, I will be there.
Listen, I definitely want you back, because honestly, this one for me, because you and I are so similar and like I resonate with so many things, I really, really want to have you back like faster than pretty much everyone else, just because I do feel like with you, we didn't get to go over the broad spectrum of all the things that your life encompasses. Like you've lived a good amount now, to the point where like there's so many things we could talk about, so many life topics, so many nerd topics, so many Yu-Gi-Oh topics, that like I have a whole list of questions and shit here that I honestly, you were answering so many of them as you were just talking naturally, but like there's still so much more I want to know and just like talk about.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said I'm a rambler, and you guys gave me the green light. So
yeah, no, I'm glad that you did. It's great. I'm the same way. If you let me talk, I'll just fucking go. I will just talk.
We're the Ramble and Rant podcast.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, before we go, I need to give a shout out to our patrons over at Patreon. So for you guys listening in, you can write into the IMNerdPodcast@gmail.com, a listener letter, and we will read it aloud on the show. And also, we have an IMNerd Podcast Patreon that you can join for as low as $3, which gives you access to our Discord server where people talk about things that they want us to talk about on the actual podcast. So some of our topics actually come from the Discord. They share memes and just talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, collectibles, all types of stuff. And it's growing, like, because we have so many patrons now. That Discord is actually getting quite loud these days. My Apple Watch goes off so much that I think I need to mute my notifications for it. It's that bad. Sometimes I'm like, do not disturb. But I love you guys. All right, so for our patrons over at Patreon, we have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, TCG Automotive, Silver Chronic, Tyree Tinsley, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Dominique Roberts, Game Freak Yoshi, Alex Flamer, Michael, Gabe Marini, Andre Reynolds, CJ, DubKDad1, Saul, who is from Dabber's Gaming Cafe in Georgia, and then we have our newest patron, Mitchell Naus. So thank you guys so much for being patrons over at our Patreon, supporting the podcast. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with Dale. This was really, really fun for us. I hope that you guys enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I know we had some audio issues, but I'm going to hopefully try to edit out as much of that as I can. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one.
Hell yes.
So
I
Dale,
enjoyed it.
Dale, we're gonna have you back in February for sure. Do a part 2,
Yeah.
and yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate that.
No.
Thank you.
I love it. I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, no, this will be dropping tomorrow, hopefully early in the morning, and then I'm gonna be flying out to LA like Wednesday or Thursday. So it's gonna be this whole week for me is gonna be kind of crazy because we have to record another podcast episode on Wednesday, and then I'm flying out. Yeah, so I'm flying out Thursday morning. So we're gonna record another podcast on Wednesday night, and then I have a flight at like 6 a.m. Thursday. So it's gonna be a crazy week for me, and I still have to work like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Long week ahead for me. Yep.
Yeah.
But
I work on Tuesday, so.
Yeah, I need this vacation now. I need, like, I told people I was never going for Yu-Gi-Oh. I was going to see my Yu-Gi-Oh friends, but a lot of them are still going anyway, because the unfortunate part is most people booked flights, obviously, and they're like, well, I'm just going to go anyway. Like, fuck it. So Silverman's going and a couple other people. Yeah, I'm taking a nice little vacation. So there may not be an episode of the IMNerd podcast this coming Sunday, or I guess this coming Monday, rather, because I'll be still in California. So we'll probably do an episode that'll come out Thursday, but then you won't get anything the Monday following just because of they now canceled YCS, but I'll still be on vacation. So
word.
But yeah, we will be back. We'll be talking about the new Attack on Titan episode. We'll be talking about the new Demon Slayer episode. And yeah, we have Odd Taxi coming up that we'll be talking about. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming. But I'm their podcast for our content. And let us know what you guys want us to talk about as well. We always can just pivot over to any topic. But yeah, this is episode 44, I believe, of the IMNerd podcast. As I always say, do the things that make you happy. Any closing thoughts from you gents?
Dale?
I resonate with that. With do things. Everything I do is stuff that, like, that's why I'm so still into Yu-Gi-Oh and nerd culture. Like,
yeah, because that's what makes you happy.
Exactly. Like, I have Yu-Gi-Oh memorabilia. Like, that's something I'll get further into, I guess, in our next episode. But like, I got, like, most people have coffee table books. My coffee table book is the first 4 sets of Yu-Gi-Oh, complete sets, in like a really nice binder that sits on my coffee table.
That sounds fucking nice.
Yeah, I got some stuff to maybe not show off, but be like,
yeah.
We all, but
cool.
You know what the cool thing about being older? This is one of the last things I'll say. One of the coolest things about being older is just having the ability to buy the things that you want to buy, no matter how ridiculous they may seem to other people. They mean something to you, and that's what's important.
Yes, sir.
It's so funny you say that, because there was a meme that I saw like 2 days ago, and it was along the lines of, you guys remember Jackie Chan Adventures?
Yeah, I used to love it.
One of my favorite shows, but it's a picture of all 12 talismans, and they're like, the hardest thing about adulting is no one telling you, no one's stopping you from buying 12 replica talismans.
I literally just saw that like 2 days ago as well. And I stared at it so long that I was wondering, like, I wonder how much those cost, because I wouldn't mind having them.
I almost bought Dragon Balls. Like I'm like, I could probably display this somewhere.
Yes,
and I didn't. But
I want Dragon Balls. I want a reverse blade sword from Rurouni Kenshin. Like, I want a real replica reverse blade sword. I want it to be sharp on the reverse end and everything. I want Sephiroth sword from Final Fantasy VII. I want Cloud sword from Final Fantasy VII. I want so many like random replica things that are just like, they look very real. Just to display, but I'll get around to it eventually.
2 things. One, in terms of buying shit like that, I remember when I was like 22 or 23, I saw this really high quality replica Green Ranger helmet. I was like, I fucking need that. I never ended up buying it, but I'm a huge Green Ranger stan. And I was like, I want this Green Ranger helmet. But in terms of replica swords, my little brother, who's 10, I bought him Tanjiro's sword last Christmas, or it was his last birthday.
Oh.
Tanjiro's sword from Demon Slayer. And I just wanted to show you guys real quick.
Nice.
I love all that shit. Like,
me too.
And it's got the black blade, you know.
I am jealous.
Yeah, I got this for my brother on his last birthday, I think it was. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Good thing I'm coming back in February, so I'm gonna show all my disposable income on that shouldn't be in your house.
Yes. All right. Well, Dale, I'm gonna let you go. You have a good night, and I'll talk to you later, brother.
You too. Have a safe trip, and see you soon.
Thank you.
See ya. Peace.